Today we have updated our American Girl collection video. The last time I made one of these was in January of 2022, and I distinctly said that was the last one. I would only do an update. And that had been the plan. But Colleen and I were talking about it when we were looking at how many new dolls joined our family, and we just didn't feel right not showing them all. And I've had a lot of people say that they were disappointed that we weren't going to show all of them. So this is going to be a super long video. I talk about all my dolls in detail. They all are special to me. I think the stories behind our dolls, like as individual collectors, is what makes them unique, because we can all have the same dolls. And if this is not your cup of tea, if you just want a video where, like, I say the name of the doll and when I got them and move on, this isn't for you. Totally understandable. I get it. But I will put a timestamp in here and in a pinned comment where the new dolls not featured in the previous video from 2022, where they start, in case you've watched that video and you just want to see our newbies. But maybe you're new here, maybe you didn't watch the last collection update, so maybe you're interested in seeing them all.
Or maybe you're that person that told Shelly she watched it like 100 times and wants to see the same dolls but in a different format.
So we did, to make this special, we have a new filming location. We moved downstairs to Babyland. We were able to fit them all in the room together, which is shocking. We dressed them in outfits that would not be repeated from previous videos. There might be the robe historical outfit that, you know, we don't have a lot of clothes for that character, but they're on a different doll. So we made sure to really do that, made sure to make them look super nice. We spent a lot of time preparing for this. So
it took us hours to just to get ready for this video.
Along with that, our collection currently has 90 dolls, and 34 of them are new additions. But before you jump to any conclusions, we have been collecting American Girls for like 25 years. We got our first one, which was Colleen's, Christmas 1996. That was our thing as kids. 16 of them were when we were kids in like a 9-year span, which sounds like a lot. Our parents weren't rich. It was just a special thing that they budgeted for because
Christmas, birthdays, good report card.
We loved them and we took care of them. That was like what they chose to buy us. It's not like we had expensive video games or did expensive after school activities. That was our thing.
And I still have Molly nearly 30 years later.
Yeah, and barring like the 5 years we didn't collect when I was a teenager, we've been basically collecting most of our lives. And along with that, quite a hefty percentage of them are secondhand. I'll put the number here. And by secondhand, I mean dolls we found like in the wild, at thrift stores, at flea markets, not used dolls that people gave us. 15 of the dolls in our collection were secondhand dolls that other people gave us, 14 of which are new in this video that like you didn't see before in a collection video. So like right there, that's a huge chunk of the number. Like we didn't ask for those dolls, we weren't expecting to get those dolls, and you'll hear the stories behind them. And all the ones we've purchased new as adults, except 4 of them over the past like 14 years, they have all been on some kind of sale. And a lot of the ones we've purchased on eBay or Mercari were like in like deals. So it's not like all of these were full price, purchased right away. And I mean, of course there are some that we paid good money for, and I'm not ashamed of it. That's like what we're into. But just to provide some context, this didn't happen overnight. We're very grateful for every single doll, and we hope you enjoy meeting them all and seeing the new additions. And without further ado, let's get on to the video. We have Molly McIntyre, the first American Girl ever in our collection. She was a surprise Christmas gift for my sister, given to her by my parents in 1996. Our American Girl journey actually started, I want to say around spring of 1996 when I was in 2nd grade. It was the first time the librarian at my old elementary school suggested to me that I look at the American Girl books, and I liked the girl with the glasses right away, even though at the time I actually wasn't even a glasses wearer yet. I always feel like I do such a bad job summing up this doll in a collection video, because this doll was literally everything to me from the time I got her. She was just always my favorite. I mean, she was like my best friend in middle school. Like, this doll went everywhere with me. We have so many memories together. To just try to sum her up in a few sentences for a video is really hard. She is, out of every doll I have, and we have obviously a lot of dolls, there's no doubt that she's my very favorite of them all.
Seen better days, her hair's a little discolored, and I never got her silver. I replaced, and I never planned to. I wouldn't trade her for anybody. She's my favorite.
My first American Girl was Miss Addie Walker. I got her for my 6th birthday, August of 1997. I can't sit and pretend like she was my only doll and my only favorite and my soulmate, because I clearly more than one doll kind of woman, but I really, really love Addie. She is like a piece of my life, a piece of my heart. I don't really remember much of a time before I had her, and if I could go back and do it all over again, she would still be my very first American Girl. I admit, like, I hadn't read any of her books or anything when I got her. I picked her out because I really liked her hair. I think that the like afro textured hair is absolutely beautiful, and that was the fun part of being in cosmetology school, is I actually got to work on real hair like this, which was so fun. And because I loved her hair, this leads into, this is a replacement head that I got in the summer of 2003 for like a good report card. I had to replace her original head because I brushed it so much she went bald. Her ponytail was like that thick. Then for my following birthday, I was the first one of me and Colleen to have 2 American Girls. We have Miss Samantha Parkington. I got her for my birthday in 1998, and her name is Luca because I usually name my duplicates. I remember the day that we came home from the world's worst vacation where we all got food poisoned. We had a very dysfunctional family fight in the tent. Dad's boat almost sank in the middle of the ocean because it was used and someone put car parts in it. So that's nice.
I think we even came back like a day early because we weren't feeling well.
Yeah, it was awful. The campground was terrible. And when we came home, Samantha's box was on the front steps, soaking wet, standing upright. And I didn't care. I was so excited to see her. Mom and Dad were mad that she was left out in the rain, but I was so excited. I cut myself opening up her box. But I love her, and not as much as I had loved Addie, which is why when my grandmother wanted to make us clothes for them, we sent Luca over to her house for a few weeks as the model. But she was very missed, and she was like a real favorite of mine in the summer of 2004 because I just got super into her, and my favorite book is actually probably of like, not all of them, but of many of the historical books, is Samantha's Surprise. I love it, and I used to reenact it with the American Girl premiere game we had. What are you doing?
He's trying to jump in.
Are you being Coco Banana Boy? Okay. Cat cameo. Isabella, who is Josephina Montoya.
So I actually got her for my report card. I want to say it was October 1998. The reason I wanted her, I think, was just because Shelley put it in my head that if she had to, I should have too. And Shelley had actually really wanted Josephina because she's beautiful, but because I was the one who was into like studying the Spanish language, I thought I had to have her. I did have fun with her, but she was never meant nearly as much to me as Molly. So Shelley ended up adopting her. What year do you think you adopted her?
I don't know. I was always jealous of her. I used to like creepily watch you playing with her when I went to bed before you at night. I watched you from my bed. Jealously, thinking you didn't take good care of her. I don't remember. I mean, I know I had her by 2003 because Skippy, our old dog, our Sheltie, he chewed, I think it was this foot, because I forgot her on my bottom bunk one night when I had done her hair earlier in the day on my bed. And I actually had to buy her a replacement leg in 2012 off eBay.
She also has a small nick on her nose from when a cat we used to have knocked a fan on top of her face one night when I was sleeping.
She's always kind of felt more like my doll. So then we have Miss Felicity Merriman and Kirsten Larson, who were our Christmas gifts in 1998. So I picked Felicity and Colleen picked Kirsten. And I had been really torn when picking out my second American Girl if I wanted Felicity or Samantha. Now, Samantha felt more iconic to me, even as a kid, but I liked Felicity's collection better. I'm a real sucker for colonial things. That's why I got Felicity, and I kind of talked you into getting Kirsten, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Shelley talked me into Kirsten, and she's like, well, then we'd have all 6 of the historical dolls, because this is exactly how many historical characters they had out at the time. So I was like, okay. But I never really, I remember playing with her, making her wear one of Meme's homemade American Girl nightgowns, and that was about it.
You always forget you gave her to me.
Yeah, and well, because I want to say I gave Shelly Kirsten back in.
You gave me her first.
Yeah, like 2001.
Yeah, when Mom was still alive.
Yeah, and when Mom was cleaning up at that gas company.
Bitty Baby recently when.
So 2001.
I think so. Yeah.
Kirsten actually, she used to have silver eye. In 2016, we actually sent her away to the doll hospital to get her eyes replaced because she looked like a cyborg. And even though she was by then like 100% felt like Shelly's doll, not mine, you know, she's still part of the family. And I remember feeling so bad about her not being home that I had said to my friend Lori, because it was right around the time we got our guinea pig Isla, that Isla had to go back to Petco because she had an eye infection, and the doll had gone to the hospital to get her eyes replaced. And I said, and every night I pray that Isla and Kirsten will both come home safely. And my friend Lori says, but Colleen, it's bad enough that you prayed for the guinea pig, but don't go telling other people you're praying for the doll. So obviously she was like, you know, a huge part of our lives and a part of the family. And she just looks so good now that she has her eyes replaced. And even though we missed her, it was worth it.
And Felicity, I played with her a lot. I remember taking her in the woods with me, and we went to like one of the boat shows Dad would take us to, and like camper shows with me. And she actually has like a couple little scratches and some staining on her torso from being outside a lot, but I don't regret it. And then we have Miss Angela. Angela is Girl of Today, number 3. And I got her for Christmas 1999 because I had all the historical characters at that point, or collectively we did, and I wanted another doll. And she was the one that was advertised a lot, which is really the only reason why I got her, because I had contemplated getting the one that looked like Addie. Or the Asian one. But I ended up getting Angela, and I remember very specifically, I also wanted Generation Girl Tori. So, you know, Mom and Dad did not have a lot of money. I just want to say that, like, it was a big deal for us to get American Girls. It was something they budgeted for. So I was told that my only Christmas gifts would be Angela and Tori, if that's what I chose to get. And I did end up getting a couple little, like, smaller things and Pilot Barbie, but it was like really special. Like, I was really surprised and grateful that I got what I asked for and a couple extra things. And she's in really nice condition because I played with her, but I just didn't find her quite as interesting as the historical characters. And Colleen had always planned on getting Valerie here, who is Girl of Today number 16, but she kind of chickened out that Christmas.
So we actually used to sit together with the catalogs open and tell these stories about Angela and Valerie. And they were sisters, and we used to make up these stories. And the plan was for us to get Angela and Valerie together at Christmas, but I had second thoughts. So I waited until my birthday, which is the beginning of February, to get Valerie. The night Valerie came, Shelly was jealous, as per usual.
Yeah, because they surprised you when you were in the bathroom. Mom and Dad lit the cake, they had the present out. When you came out of the bathroom, they sang happy birthday, and then you got to open the beautiful doll.
And Shelly was jealous. So that's how Shelly remembers my 13th birthday. The way I remember it is that I felt this instant remorse. And that night, I took Molly into my bed, and I started singing Shania Twain's You're Still the One to her. Because I remembered a time when I didn't have 4 dolls, it was just me and Molly, and I wished that it was just that way again.
Uh-oh.
And that's when, oh no, Oliver somehow got in. That's when I decided I wasn't interested in collecting American Girl dolls besides Molly anymore. And from then on, all my childhood, like, birthday and Christmas presents were Molly-related things.
I think Valerie was the second one of your dolls you let me have.
Yes.
You used to put them behind your dresser mirror to pretend they didn't exist.
Yeah, because I felt guilty about getting them, so I just hid them behind
And, you know,
the
I used to feel bad that I liked a lot of dolls, but, you know, honestly, my heart is just so big, it can fit every doll inside it.
No, and actually, Shelly's really rubbed off on me, because I've gotten more into liking a lot of dolls that I wouldn't have liked without Shelly.
And then we have my beautiful little bitty baby. She didn't want to stand. She said she wanted to sit for this video. I got her for my Good Report card in the spring of 2001. She is one of my most sentimental American Girls from childhood. I mean, it's probably like Josephina and then Bitty Baby. I loved her. I'd always wanted a Bitty Baby, and I would have picked a Bitty Baby for my very first American Girl birthday. I wanted to get like a doll that was the same caliber as Colleen's, because, you know, I was used to playing like with older kids' toys, because we're 4.5 years apart. So I didn't want to start out with the baby doll. I wanted to go with the big guns. But I ended up getting her for that report card, and she was my little pride and joy. I saved up allowance money for her clothes. I also used to compulsively clean her. And so you can see she's got some like yellow discoloration. Really very special to me, and I know the name Biddy isn't creative, but she will always be Biddy to me.
And Shelly used to take her like literally everywhere. She had like a human-sized stroller and a high chair that Dad made and all kinds of gear, and Biddy came with us on vacations and to eat pizza.
Yeah.
And there was like the summer it was Molly and Biddy, and then sometimes Kirsten would join in.
And we have Josephina Montoya. She is my most sentimental of all my American girls. So she was my birthday gift for my 11th birthday in August of 2002. So my mom ended up passing away less than 2 weeks after that, and it had been a real hard time convincing her to let me get Josephina because we already had Isabella, who is her twin. But Dad, as a brother with two of his brothers growing up, he knew what it felt like to always get the hand-me-downs, being the youngest, and so he talked Mom into letting me get Josephina because, see, I took really good care of my stuff. Like, I think the only thing I lost of my childhood American Girl things as a kid was one of Felicity's garters. And I was really little when I got some of them. So I got her, and I remember when I opened her up, I felt kind of disappointed because she has like, it's hard to tell on camera, and I think it's improved over the years a bit, but she has like, kind of like a skin defect. Like some Kaylee's from 2003 are really, really too tan. She is really, really ruddy in the skin tone. And she didn't look anything like Isabella over here. But I decided to move past that and love her anyways, and I used to tell her all my secrets, and I really connected with her stories because Josephina's mom passed away in her stories, and she was like a comfort doll even when I wasn't collecting dolls as a teenager, so she'll always have a special place in my heart. And then we have Miss Amber. She is Girl of Today, number 2, which I just picked her out because I liked her skin tone. She's medium skin toned, and I got her for Christmas 2002, which was our first holiday without Mom, and I thought it would make me feel better, and I had it all planned out. I had made room decorations for her. I had bought her some Our Generation outfits in preparation for her coming home, and then when she came, I felt a little empty inside because I was missing my mom, but I remember vividly being in Dad's pickup truck going to Uncle David's for Christmas, which was our first Christmas celebrating at someone else's house, and his pickup truck had a broken window, so there was this big piece of cardboard on the back, and I remember Dad slipping down the stairs at Uncle David's house that holiday, but she always brings me back to that time, and I'd say of my like childhood Girl of Todays, she means the most to me. I'm sorry. They want to be part of the video.
It all started in summer of 2004, the summer of Samantha, when Shelly was toting Samantha around, and of course, as usual, I was toting around Molly. Well, we were in the car one day. Shelly and I were talking about how Molly was in such bad shape, and we were talking about, well, we sent her in to get a new body, but her hair is a mess, and I just couldn't really contemplate sending her away to the doll hospital, like Shelly did with Addie. And then Dad said, Molly needs to be jacked up and doll put in her place. Our eyes met in the rearview mirror, and I said, you're right. And he said that still thinking about getting another Molly come Christmas, he would get me another Molly for Christmas. So that's why we were talking about me getting a new American Girl for Christmas '04. But then, of course, Shelly, as usual, had doll envy.
I was a perfectionist, and by then Luca was kind of a little bit woebegone, and so I thought, oh, if Colleen gets a new Molly, then I'll really want a new Samantha, but before that I had been wanting Kit. So, and I had liked Kit since she came out, especially because my mom thought she was the cutest one in the collection. Short hair and freckles, which was really unique for the time. I picked Samantha out when Dad went to place the order, but then I had some regret about it because I was like, oh, actually, I kind of want Kit. And I didn't tell Dad.
Up at I think 3 a.m.
crying, because this was like my greatest life problem at the age of 13.
Mine at the age of 13 was Molly and singing Shania Twain's You're Still the One, so who am I to judge?
So Dad, whose love language was buying things, ended up letting me get Kit too, and got Colleen Molly's trunk to balance it out. He was not fiscally responsible, especially with Mom being gone. He let us open Molly and Kit when the package arrived, like a couple weeks before Christmas.
I was like, I want to open my new Molly. And Shelly's like, I want to open Kit.
Like, talk about not the best parenting there. Like, not teaching, delayed gratification. And I opened up Samantha on Christmas Day, and we had a sleepover in the living room on an inflatable mattress under the Christmas tree with them and then the old dolls. She has some of my favorite stories, and I remember I even cut my hair to look like her in 8th grade, and I was always interested in learning about the Great Depression because of her, so... And she finally got her braces off. I don't know if you'll remember this from past videos, but I had the bubble rope that I got for Christmas the year I got her, and I had braces at the time. That's why I wanted it. It came with sticker braces, and I had them on her for like all these years, but then this past summer in 2024, the adhesive finally peeled, so it's still kind of like an adjustment because I've seen her with braces for over 20 years.
Sorry.
What are you doing up there?
He jumped over Leah's head to get up there.
Jenkos! No! Get down! Kaya, sorry, I call her Kia. Bad pronunciation from younger me. I loved her when she came out in 2002, but I had tried to take a little break from getting dolls for a while, and I finally was
Shelly's
like,
dolly hiatus.
I really want Kaya. So when I brought it up to Dad, he was like, I'm honestly surprised you didn't want her sooner because, you know, he really liked Native American culture
She's
too.
just such a Shelly doll.
And I always really liked Native American culture. I loved learning about Native Americans. And honestly, I think the whole like way of life is very beautiful. I wanted her. And Dad let me get her for my good report card in 2005. And even though that was the last year I was like really hardcore playing with dolls, and the last year I bought any dolls, I did use her a lot, and I took her with me a lot of places. And actually the outfit she's wearing is very special because Dad picked me out. This is a surprise for my 14th birthday that year. And Dad, like, honestly, I don't know if he would have been able to tell Addie apart if it wasn't for her dark skin, because he just didn't know how to tell them apart. But he remembered who Kaya was. He picked her out this outfit. Sadly, the flocking peeled off of it, so now it's kind of this weird shiny material, but she always reminds me of Dad. And then we have Marisol Luna, who is my last childhood doll and the last one we collectively had together as kids. She's Girl of the Year 2005, and I got her for Christmas 2005. I liked her as soon as they came out with her. I really wasn't into the Girl of the Year gimmick before then. I mean, not to say I didn't dream of owning Kaylee and Lindsey before then, because I'm sure I did. But I just thought she was so stunningly beautiful, and I remember getting her book and reading that like at the beginning of the year, and I really liked her story. I told Dad, even though it was a little bit embarrassing as a freshman in high school to want a doll, I told him I wanted to get her a couple weeks before Christmas, so by the time he went to order, they were almost completely out of stock. So when he was on the phone ordering, the woman he talked to had to go send someone down to the warehouse and check to make sure that the last doll that was showing up on the computer was still there. And then there was only like a few of her accessory sets left in one outfit. So I got really lucky to have gotten her at all, especially because on eBay not long after that she was like really expensive.
And now we took a real doll hiatus.
From 2005 to 2011, we didn't have anything to do with any of our dolls. My first American Girl I got as an adult was Miss Keisha. She is the brunette Bitty Baby doll. It was that fall of 2011. It was a really, really cold day. We went to this flea market with Dad, and I saw her sitting in a dirty sleeper with scuffs all over her head and looking filthy. It was just $10, which I was floored by because, you know, when we were kids, they were really expensive. You couldn't just, like, go anywhere and buy them used. And so Dad said he would buy her for me, and I had to fix her up. She really couldn't have been that old either. I adopted her because I felt sorry for her, and that's kind of a pattern with many of my babies. And then later on that fall, like probably a month or two later,
November,
we ended up getting second Josephina, a third Josephina and a third Molly at the flea market. It was an indoor flea market. Dad actually wanted to take us to this booth because he had seen Wizard of Oz dolls that he knew I wanted. But then they had a bunch of American Girl stuff, including a bunch of clothes for Kirsten. When we saw the like old school Pleasant Company dolls of our favorite characters, we had to have them. So he got them for us as like kind of like an early Christmas gift. They were technically $35 originally each, but because we got them in a bundle, and I think I got Josephina's bed with her that day.
Remember you carried Rosie out of there on a bed?
Yeah. we ended up getting like a bundle deal for that and the Wizard of Oz dolls. So they ended up being less than that each. I named her Rosalita.
This is my most aesthetically pleasing Molly. Now, I don't name my doubles. To me, they're all just Molly McIntyre. So this is my flea market Molly. That's so for Molly. You know, they're just Molly, Molly, Molly. What I love about my flea market Molly is that she's about the same age as my first Molly. Like I'd say mid to late 90s. She looks exactly how I remember my old doll looking when she was new, except no one ran this one to the ground. So she's like my muse. Like anytime I need to take a photo and I want to feature a Molly, it's almost always her I use. And if I could only keep a handful of my Mollies,
You have a handful of Mollies.
If I could only pick a couple of my Mollies, I'd pick her based on looks.
Okay, you didn't have to move your bum. Then we have Miss Jelly. She is another blonde-haired, gray-eyed baby. I know her little hat is covering up her hair. So I found her at the flea market in July of 2013. There was a cellar that had been set up for a few weeks that had a bunch of like old Pleasant Company American Girls. They were kind of like a lot of money for their condition because most were in like incorrect clothes. But I noticed the Bitty Baby had a bunch of Bitty Baby stuff. And she was $50 for the doll with her original outfit, diaper, bear, the diaper bag set, a couple extra outfits. Like, she had a lot of gear. And I had always, like, wondered what an old Bitty Baby would compare to my childhood doll. And she was filthy. Like, her face was goopy. It was so sticky. She had, like, I want to say chocolate stains all over her clothes. And she just was in horrible condition. And when we were getting ready to buy her, there was this little girl that was asking her dad if she could have her. And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm glad we already are, like, paying for this doll. Because although it's nice for children to play with them, she needs, like, actual care and attention. And with all that plasticizer leaching out of her, probably not healthy for a child. And then about a year later, Miss Nellie O'Malley joined the collection. She was also from the local flea market. She was our first one from the flea market we go to every Sunday. The others were from a different place that closed a long time ago. But Nellie was at the flea market standing on a table in Samantha's meat dress and shoes, no tights, no underwear. She had Sharpie underneath her eyes. Her bangs had a chunk cut out of them. She looked filthy. Her skin was like really shiny and greasy looking. And I saw her from like above where the cellars were set up because there's like a hill you go down. And I knew right away who that was.
And Shelly goes trucking it down the hill.
And I never really thought I'd be that excited to see Nellie O'Malley, but I guess I was. And they originally wanted $50 for her, or $45 or something, and then they said that I could have her for what, $20 or $25?
$25. It was what they paid for her.
Yeah, because they knew she was in really rough shape, and she was super loose. Like, you'd hold her, and she was like a marionette. So she was a fun, like, little TLC project, and she really invigorated my love of American Girl. I mean, obviously we were still into them, but getting Nellie, it was like, it wasn't just like buying a doll we already had as kids again, or getting a Bitty Baby. It was like getting a whole different character. And after that, I just became obsessed with getting more dolls. And that is how, literally within a week, I was scouring eBay looking for Julie dolls to buy. And that was the summer, this was 2014, when the BeForever relaunch came out. And so in preparation for that, they retired all of the best friends, including Ivy. And when I realized they were retiring Ivy, I was like, oh, this is my chance to get her now. And after a lot of debate, we got her kind of as like a birthday gift to me. And I got her New Year's outfit too, because that was the one thing that was available for her still. And I was really nervous about if I'd feel the same way opening her, because people trash talk American Girls a lot, and this has been going back for years. But when I opened her, when she came in the mail, I felt like a kid again. And honestly, even the newest doll we've gotten in 2025 still feels the same. Even with the quality changes and stuff, they're still loads of fun. They're still really special. And
beautiful dolls.
Ivy's one of my favorite.
Quality dolls.
If I could only keep 10 American Girls, Ivy'd be on that list, and so would Miss Julie. I had liked Julie for a long time. I remember when she came out in 2007, we were still getting catalogs in the mail, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's a hippie girl. I don't know, I love
70s stuff. I just think it's really cool. I just love the clothes and the long hair and that hippie vibe and just the boho feel of a lot of it. So I had secretly wished I was still buying American Girls when she came out. And then when I was looking online at other collectors and watching some YouTube videos back then, I was always jealous of people's Julie dolls. So when I decided to get Ivy, I ended up looking into Julie dolls, and I found one on eBay. She was really nice condition. She was a little kid's doll that they had grown out of. She was in her meat outfit, had her accessories, had her pajamas, but without the slippers. And I had a gift card for eBay that I had gotten, and so I ended up getting her. And I think she was like $100 all said and done after the gift card. So she was like a really good deal, because she had extras and she was like in new condition, and she's one of my favorites. Like one of my favorite historical characters, has one of my favorite collections. I have a lot of favorites. And it got worse in 2014, because not only did I get Ivy and Julie, but in November I decided to get Isabelle Palmer, the Girl of the Year. Now I remember when we got Ivy in the mail, her catalog had Isabelle on the cover. Colleen said that she was lame. I secretly liked her.
And I could tell Shelley secretly liked her.
When I realized she had pink in her hair, like the extensions have pink, I liked her even more. That was a very cool feature. And then she was a dancer like Marisol. Then I watched her movie, I think on Thanksgiving Day. That year someone had it uploaded to YouTube, and I really related to her like struggles with self-esteem and comparing herself to other people and losing sight of like doing things you love because you feel insecure. I mean, I'm grown out of that now, but back at the time I really related to that. I kind of inadvertently talked Colleen into going to the American Girl store, Boston, to get her. We went the day after Black Friday, so it was Saturday. We went there. There was tons of dolls to pick out. She is the only brand new American Girl I've ever gotten in the store, and that I ever actually like picked out. All the other ones were Destiny. They were the dolls we found, or they were the doll that American Girl sent to us. And she's still one of my most sentimental ladies, and I love how classic she is. She's just so adorable.
That summer,
2015.
Shelley was looking online, and she had found this deal for this white-bodied Molly that was actually pretty good. It was like about $140 all said and done.
Yeah.
And, you know, back then the white-bodied dolls weren't as exorbitant as they are now. They were pretty pricey, so it seemed like a pretty good deal. And at first, Shelley was actually more enthused about it than I was. But then within 24 hours, I was so enthused that I was, like, moving money from savings to checking. Because, you know, I work at the school, so I'm pretty much broke during the summer. I was moving money out of my savings account to buy this doll. So I love her. She came, and the seller had put her in this box. It was like this square shape, and she was sitting up in it because she couldn't fit the long way. That's how like jammed she was in this box. Supposedly the seller got her for Christmas '86, which I think is super cool because a lot of the books that my mom's parents had given me as a kid were actual first edition Molly books from the 80s. So it's kind of cool to think that she's like the doll from that book, like the earliest incarnation of Molly McIntyre. The idea of having this iconic beauty really took hold of me. When she arrived, though, someone had just lobbed her in this box. I mean, my heart broke for her because I couldn't imagine sending my precious Molly, who I got 10 years after they got this doll, in a box and just shipping her off to someone. Like, the idea horrified me, and I just, like, felt so bad for this doll. So Shelley put about at least 8 hours worth of work into fixing her because especially the back of her hair looked 10 times worse in person than it did in photos. So she was like a real labor of love. Shelley spent a lot of time fixing her for me.
She needed to be restrung, she needed to be scrubbed, she needed to have her wig fixed. Doll.
I'm so fond of her. She's probably like my second or third favorite, depending on whether I love her or BeForever Molly more on a given day.
And then we have White-bodied Samantha, because, you know, Shelley gets jealous. And when I found the deal on Molly, I ended up looking at Samantha dolls, and I found that this doll had been relisted like 5 or 6 times, and the price had kept getting slashed. So she was a bid for $85 with like $20-something shipping, and I was like, well, if I bid and no one else bids against me, that would be a great deal. It should be a little over $100 all said and done. This was before they taxed you on eBay. no one bid. I mean, and like, this is the thing, like, white-bodied dolls weren't as desirable back then. Kirsten was pretty desirable, but the other two weren't, because Molly and Samantha had been made longer. Not the white bodies, but the characters had been available longer, and they had just brought Samantha back for BeForever, so I feel like that was part of it. She was the most obtainable, and she came with, like, a newer 90s box, which also might have been, like, part of why people didn't realize she was older, but she is my favorite incarnation of Samantha, and like usually I actually prefer like the BeForever versions of characters. I think that they really tweaked them in a way that made the dolls even prettier, but I like the lighter, longer hair on Samantha and the lighter eyes, and even though she has kind of a fluttering eye issue, I just think she's really special, and if, God forbid, I had to start my collection over, I wouldn't go for the white body, but there's some early 90s ones that like have the exact same face, and I would be down to get like that version of Samantha. And we were clearly in a very American Girl mood still in 2015, because we got them during the summer, and then it was in like November that these ladies joined the collection. So after I had gotten Nellie, I was still looking for clothes for her online like a year later, and when I bought Nellie's holiday outfit, Colleen was jealous, and that's what prompted her to go looking for Emily dolls on eBay, because she was retired by then.
So I'd gone back and forth for many years about the Emily thing, because when I first got into Molly, in 1996, my favorite book was actually Happy Birthday, Molly, because I thought it was cool that this British girl came to visit, and then they got puppies, commercially to a child that appeals. By the time I was in middle school, and to this day, my favorite book in Molly's world is actually Changes for Molly, when her dad comes home. At the time, when I was a little kid first getting into Molly, Emily Bennett was the best thing, and I always wanted them to make an Emily Bennett, and I even pretended one of my meme's porcelain dolls, who we actually have, was Emily. By the time they came out with Emily, it was around the time I was like graduating high school. So it was during our doll hiatus, and then we got back into dolls. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Would it be stupid to get Emily? Is it a good idea? Would it be stupid? And seeing that Nellie holiday outfit just kind of sealed the deal. I absolutely love my Emily doll. I think she's so pretty. I love her red hair and her blue eyes. I love how she looks like Bonnie Wright, who played Ginny Weasley on Harry Potter.
You got her like basically barely played with her original box on eBay.
Yeah, and also, I'd seen the doll, and I just kind of had a feeling that, like, looking at her on the eBay listing, that was going to be my Emily doll. And I even got her tap outfit, not with her, but from the same seller, and I'm guessing it was hers in her other home.
Yeah, and I think she was like $120 all said and done.
Yeah, she wasn't a bad
One
deal.
of the more expensive ones we've gotten on eBay that didn't come with extras.
Yeah.
Because I actually paid about $10 more for Elizabeth, but Elizabeth came with her accessories, her meet outfit, her holiday outfit, and then like a little picture frame with Felicity. And I really wanted Elizabeth when they came out with her in the fall of 2005. And had it not been for Marisol Luna, who was retiring, I would have gotten Elizabeth. I always loved Felicity's collection, and then they kind of semi-retired her. They removed her from catalogs, and we didn't have the internet at home, so I thought she was just gone. So when they relaunched her with Elizabeth, my little heart was just so full of love and greed. So it was kind of always this like unspoken thing between Colleen and me that she was supposed to be in our collection, and I found her in pretty beat up shape in that lot on eBay. I had to like find her pin curls and redo them. I couldn't retrieve one of them on this side, it was long gone, but yeah, she's cleaned up really nicely, and I think she's gorgeous. I love the Josephina head sculpt on her, and she feels like a childhood doll because I've had her so long. And then we have a Duke. She is my BeForever Addie, and this is my favorite rendition of Addie ever.
So, eyebrows just do so much for her face.
Yeah, like no shade to the line brows, but these look great on her. So even though I had replaced Addie's head, she's actually lost quite a bit of hair because, I would like braid her whole head like all the time, and I didn't have the right kind of comb for it. So she had kind of thinned a bit, and I had always kind of wanted a second Addie, but I didn't really think it would come to fruition. And when I would think about getting them, I was originally thinking of getting one like on eBay that was the same year or roughly the same year as my original head was, but then I was like, but their hair is probably not in good shape and she'll have the same wig shedding problem. So then it occurred to me, why couldn't I get a BeForever Addie? And by that point, I had already bought the separately sold BeForever Addie meat outfit. And we kept entering this like sweepstakes they were running.
To get a free BeForever doll?
And we had talked about if we'd get Addie or Rebecca.
Because I already by then wanted Rebecca. Which is a whole other story.
And then when they ran a 20% off sale, a little bit after Cyber Monday that year, that's when I got a Duke. And I wasn't expecting it, otherwise I might have waited to get Elizabeth.
And it's actually, no, I actually think you might have ordered a Duke before you bought Elizabeth.
Okay, that was just bad then.
I think Bitsy just happened to come first.
Yeah, I remember I had a really bad migraine
I think it was like the
when she
Keisha
showed
Ming-Mei
up.
thing where Kiki and Ming-Mei thing where one...
Remember, she came first, and I had a really bad migraine, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. And then I was feeling really good when a Duke came, and I was glad because I really cherished that experience, and I vividly remember opening her on the living room couch. The irony is, when they ran that 20% off sale, if I hadn't already had it in my head that I wanted a second Addie doll, my plan had been to get Grace. Now, originally when Grace came out, I was still kind of sad that Isabelle retired. And I don't know, the Parisian theme seemed kind of cheesy, but when we went to the American Girl store, we took our White-bodied dolls there to get some stuff that was on sale, summer 2015.
Including the outfit that Addie Sam is wearing.
Yeah. They had like displays in the mall outside the store, like just in the middle of the mall with Grace in them. And when I saw her, I just thought she was so freaking cute. And I ended up like looking up videos about her, and I thought she was just such a work of art because for her time, she was like really detailed. She's got dewy lips and these really cool eyebrows and freckles. So I would have gotten her on that sale, but I did not. So then in February of 2016, I found her on eBay, and I'm pretty sure the person I got her from bought her on a sale because she ended up being, I want to say, all said and done, like $130. It was just the doll, but she was completely sealed, brand new in her box. And in my head, I kind of did the math, and I was like, well, if I ordered her from American Girl and I paid for shipping and tax, it would have come out to about that. Speaking of girls with your obsession, we have Lindsey Bergman, the Girl of the Year 2001. Now, I had actually seen Lindsey dolls before in person, not my own, but I had a friend in a middle school who had her, and then when I was like 21, a friend of mine asked me to fix up, I think it was her sister's Lindsey doll, to like restring her and redo her hair. And I really like, despite being really into dolls, I didn't really feel a whole lot for either of those Lindseys. I thought I was immune. And when you put it out there into the universe that I will never want X thing, it ends up, my mom specifically said she would never marry a guy with my dad's last name. And then she ended up marrying my dad. So it was one of those things. I will never want a Lindsey doll. And then I saw her on opening day at the flea market in 2016. It was April, and it was like not the first Sunday of the month. It technically wasn't opening day. It was our first day because it had rained and snowed like the previous Sunday, so nobody was set up. And there she was, standing on a regular seller's table. And it's actually the seller we've gotten some of our Cabbage Patch Kids from in years since. She usually wants more for her dolls. And so when we asked about Lindsey, she said she was $75, which was a lot to pay at the flea market, like in cash. And we had already bought the Ken suitcase bin, like with 86 very mangy Barbies in it, like several minutes before.
That was only like $20 or something.
Yeah,
it was
and
ridiculously
Lindsey
cheap.
was moldy, okay? She had huge mold stains on her face, on her arms, on her legs. She was super loose. But her wig was surprisingly in nice shape. Usually they get really dry, gross wigs. She had nice face paint, so I knew she'd clean up. And she had her whole meat outfit except the hair clip. So I decided to walk around and think about it. And then I realized that I needed her in my life. And I was like basically running through the rest of the flea market to go back and get her. So we ended up buying Lindsey. And I have to say, like, I actually like her better than Grace. And I like sat and thought about getting Grace. But because Lindsey sort of just came to be, She dresses super well. She's so cute. I really just can't imagine my collection without her.
Speaking of impulsive dolls you just can't live without.
Jess is the best. This is Jess McConnell, Girl of the Year 2006, girl of my heart. Jess is like my unofficial favorite girl of the year. She's like one of those dolls that if we moved and we had to pack them up for a while, I would be complaining every day about how I miss Jess. I don't know what it is with me and her. So she came out like right after I got Marisol, and I thought she was super cool. I was like, oh my gosh, they finally made an Asian Girl of the Year. This was a new head mold. She had this really beautiful orange outfit, and this was long before I had orange hair, but I really liked things that were orange back then, and she had a beachy vibe. So I would have bought her too if I had still been into dolls. When I had gotten Lindsey, it kind of put me in the mood for Girl of the Year.
And Shelly had mentioned Jess before. It wasn't totally 100% impulsive because she had mentioned before when she was talking about the dolls she'd buy if we had still been collecting. Julie's name always came up, and so did Jess's.
Yes. And then I decided just to look for her on eBay, and someone had her for like a little over $100 all said and done with her meat outfit, which was a pretty good deal for the time. You can get her way cheaper than that now. Remember, we messaged them to make sure she had her underwear. That was very important. And when they said she had her underwear, we bought her. It's supposed to be my first doll I opened on camera for my YouTube channel because this was very shortly after I started my YouTube channel. This was in June of 2016. But my friend Lisa had gotten a tattoo in memory of her grandmother who passed away that year, and we had been out all day with her at the tattoo shop. And then Lisa wanted to hang out with us at our house after we got back, and the package had arrived, and I didn't want to make her uncomfortable and film in front of her, nor would I have been comfortable with that. But I'm one of those people that I can't leave a package and not just make sure that it's the right thing inside. So I did just open her and look and see that she was okay, and that's why I never did an opening video of her. But Jess is the best, okay?
Shelly talks about Jess all the time. I'd be like, Jess obsessed.
People who say they don't
yes
like
to the
this head
Jess.
mold are wrong, okay? I'm kidding. The very first doll I did open on my channel was Caroline Abbott, the historical character. I love her. I think she's so pretty. I mean, I was kind of surprised that they did another blonde character when she came out in 2012, but I saw her at the store, and I was like, I really like her in her work dress with the calf. They retired her in 2015, and I had actually talked about with Colleen about going to the store and buying her and getting some of her stuff, but I didn't like the pressure of having to buy all of her stuff just before it retired. So I ended up getting her in August of 2016. Colleen got her for me for my birthday. I picked her out on eBay, but she was in a lot with her meat outfit, part of her accessory set, and her nightgown with slippers. She was a little over $100 all said and done, in that bundle deal. So it was pretty good, and she was someone's daughter's doll. She was very loved, and part of why I picked her was actually because she was in bad condition. She clearly looked very thin wigged, she had been brushed a lot, and her hair looked dry, but you could tell whoever played with her combed it a lot. And I was like, that person, that child, that's me as a kid. And so Caroline and I were kindred spirits. And then we have Miss Maya Jambalaya on the Bayou. This is Maya. She is my American Girl, number 41 if we're being technical. I got her in September of 2016 at the local flea market. Now, that weekend, we were supposed to go to this really big, huge outdoor flea market with Ellie, who I work for. She was going to take us to this big outdoor flea market, so we were not planning on buying a lot at our flea market because we weren't sure how much stuff we'd find at the larger one, which we ended up not finding much at all. So I'm glad we got Maya. As soon as we walked into the flea market, I saw her in the original tray of the original box standing up, and she was wearing her meat outfit. I think she had her wig cap still on. She had never been played with. She just had the wrong box top for some reason from a different doll, and I thought she looked a lot like Claire, who is number 25. I didn't remember the number, but I was like, oh, she's got the dark side parted hair, the feathered eyebrows, but she has green eyes instead of brown. Well, it turns out Maya was one of the dolls I didn't like. When I got her home and I took her hair out of the wig cap, I was horrified. She looks kind of like Rufy. This is going to sound silly. There was this girl at school that wanted to make my life hell. And she looked a lot like Ruthie. And Maya kind of looks like Ruthie, and all I could think about was that girl. then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. Like, it's not her fault she looks like this girl, and I don't think of that girl anymore when I look at Maya. But the funny thing is, I had cutouts of her on my cookbook where I keep like recipes because I'm a vegetarian, so I have like a cookbook where I keep recipes in it that I made, and I decorated it in like American Girl pictures, and of course, because that's what all adults do. And I'm like, wait a second, is this a doll with a hot dog cart that like is on my cookbook? And it was. And whenever I put a doll on a collage, it manifests.
And we love our Maya. Like,
Yeah.
we love our Maya dearly.
She was my first like girl of today type doll that I didn't have growing up. Gwen, and if you watched my other videos, you might notice something interesting about Hopscotch Hill Gwen. She can stand now, and I mean, she's tight. Like, she is not wobbling. She used to be like a marionette. And I do have a tutorial on how I did this in case you missed it, and you have a Hopscotch Hill doll in need of a restringing, because that was, the internet said it couldn't be done, and it can be done. I remember when they came out with the Hopscotch Hill dolls, I always forget that I was like older when they came out, like not old, but that they came out in 2003, because it feels like they were out before then. They weren't out long for obvious reasons. They weren't designed very well. I think they're really cute, but Gwen was the one I always liked the most as a kid because she had the 2 braids, and I love dolls with 2 braids. I found her at the Salvation Army for $2, and she was wearing like this frumpy, ill-fitting pink dress, and this was when was this? June 2017?
Yeah, it was like the month before you got Marie Grace. I want to say it was June.
Yeah, I always feel like it's early in the year, and then I think about it again. I'm like, no. I ended up buying her an original outfit on eBay, I think for like $25 or $30.
I think it was like $36.
Maybe, okay. Yeah, I was in less than $40 altogether for her with her outfit. And at the time, that was all I had that fit her. But you can see she's wearing some Glitter Girls clothes, and she can fit the Wellie Wisher clothes all right. She can fit the shoes, too. Then we have my lovely Marie Grace Gardner. I got her in July of 2017, and the funny thing is, I had literally been looking at her on eBay and had some watch listed when I found her. We were at the local flea market. I saw an American Girl box on the hood of some guy's car, and I realized it was Marie Grace. I thought maybe he had put her on the hood of his car because someone bought her and was going to come back and pick her up. But when Colleen asked, he said that people were just touching her, so he moved her. She was an unwanted Christmas gift that belonged to his daughter. She just sat around in the girls' room not doing anything, so he decided to sell her. So I think I got her for $45 because I got Maya for $50. I got her for $45. She was like not in bad shape, but you could tell she had just kind of sat around and been neglected. She needed a little work, but I had wanted Marie Grace because I felt sorry for her that like when they went to retire Cecile and Marie, everybody was mourning the loss of Cecile, but nobody cared about Marie. And then everybody was buying her to like take her eyes and use her head for customs. I just had like a real soft spot for her, and it was just so awesome that I found her in the wild. And then we have Miss Bethan. She is an old Samantha doll, mid-90s Pleasant Company doll. I got her at the Salvation Army at the very end of February of 2018.
January 31st.
Okay, January. Yeah, that's what it was. That was the year from hell. It's a very bad year.
And we were totally broke.
Like, we didn't have a lot of money before then, but that was the year.
Living check to check.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of stuff that went wrong. And we were at the Salvation Army, and I saw her wearing a blue ladybug sweater. She had her hair wadded up in a little ponytail. She was $2. And the reason why was they saw Pleasant Company on the back of her head, so they thought that she was not a real American Girl. I had this conversation with them at the register. So I walked around to think about buying her for a while, and then Colleen talked me into buying her.
Well, because, you know, we were so broke that just the idea of having her seemed tempting and we couldn't afford much.
I feel bad.
She was only $2.
I was really depressed at the time, so it took me a while to bond with her. It took me, like, so long. This past few months ago, I actually redid her hair, and I added, like, some waves to the bottom and stuff. So we had a bonding moment, and I, like, washed her torso and all that jazz. So she's always really sad looking, and it makes me sad, but she's super cute. And then my other dolls from 2018 were these 3 bitty twins. So we have Sunny, Eddie, and Billie Jean, and they were $1 each. So my American Girl budget for the year of 2018 for the dolls was $5. They were at the local flea market in June. It was the last weekend that we had my old Jeep, my 1999 Wrangler Sport named Angel. If you watch my old videos, you'll probably remember all of the times of stopped at the Salvation Army on the way to my Uncle David's because the Jeep broke. You know, that was a running theme. And so it ended up,
we couldn't go to the flea market last weekend because the Jeep broke.
yeah, so it was a really good like finishing weekend to have with Angel. And we found this person had like a bunch of American Girl stuff at their booth, and they knew what it was, and they just wanted to get rid of all their stuff. Like everything was really cheap, so they were $1 each. They did have
like a heap of random scraps of like baby bitty twin clothes.
The boys had their meet outfits just without shoes, but Billie Jean did not have her meet outfit. They were all in pretty rank shape, especially Sonny. He needed his eyelid painted because the paint had flaked off of it. But I named Sonny and Eddie after these make-believe characters I used to pretend to be when I was a kid. BeForever Molly, who I surprised calling with for Christmas 2018 because she had been talking about this doll, but we were broke. And I had finally sold my Jeep after 6 months of trying to sell it. And I was like, okay, I have some money and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find her BeForever Molly. And I got her, gosh, I think she was like $169, all said and done, still in the box. And these dolls were in like a deluxe Costco set, so it was like with the doll, the pajamas, the accessory set, so it was a bundle deal. And I priced out what all that stuff would regularly retail for, and that's how I came up with like my budget for it. And Costco buyers got her cheaper than that, but like that's why that person wasn't asking for more. And I got her on eBay, and I was so afraid she was going to come in the mail and Colin would find out, because of course our guinea pig Nevaeh ended up getting sick and needing to go to the emergency vet. And I just kept panicking, like what if she's supposed to get delivered one day, and I was like, what if she's there? What am I going to tell Colleen? So I surprised Colleen on Christmas Eve morning.
And I admit that I was doing a lot of moping and grousing about not having money and about wanting to buy things because, you know, we were kids. Dad just kind of bought us whatever we wanted even though we didn't work. But here I was working from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we were still so broke, we were living check to check, and I wasn't allowed to buy anything fun.
I was working too, just for record.
It was frustrating to like not have enough money to like get what we needed, let alone what we wanted, when I was working those insane hours. There were a lot of things I wanted, like the Babysitter's Inc. skipper, but the worst thing for me, the thing that tempted me most and made me most bitter and salty about being broke, was these BeForever Mollies. And it was especially salty there wasn't even a Costco near us, so I couldn't drag Shelly out the way she dragged me out to get Isabelle. For Christmas that year, I had made Shelly a collage, and I had spent like a week making this collage, and I thought I was the best sister in the world, and I was planning on putting it out Christmas Eve night. And I got out of bed Christmas Eve morning, and I thought, oh, I'm so excited. Tonight after Shelly goes to bed, I'm going to put this out so she wakes up on Christmas morning, it's there. I'm skipping into the kitchen, thinking about my great Christmas reveal plans for the next morning, and I see this huge box, gift wrapped, on the kitchen table. And I'm like, no, she did not get BeForever Molly. And of course it was. And the reason Shelly gave it to me on Christmas Eve day instead of Christmas Day was because we do a gingerbread house tradition with our dolls. And we originally did it on Christmas Eve. So that year was bad. Our guinea pig Nevaeh died. I come skipping in and here's Molly. And I was so excited. And she's, I don't know, it's between her 80s Molly for like my second favorite Molly because they're both really special to me. She's special for the obvious reasons that she was a gift. And that we didn't have money and Shelly went to a lot of work to get it for me.
So in 2019, fortunately, our financial situation had improved a little bit. I had thought about getting Melody when she came out, before she even came out, before the doll had even been revealed. I had heard that they were doing like a civil rights era doll, and I thought that was great. And I saw her book illustrations, and I was like, oh my gosh, that character is gonna be so cute. And Colleen and I had talked about it. She got Melody's book at like a book fair at school that the librarian let her have it. So exciting, and I had all this anticipation. And then when they finally released images of her, I felt a little underwhelmed because I did not care for her head mold. I thought they would use the Addie head mold because that looks more like her illustrations. This is a Nolly head mold. It is pretty. It's just it doesn't have like the same features Addie's does with like the beautiful like broader nose and fuller lips. So I was kind of like, for that money, I want to be really happy and I can wait and get her later. So it was summer 2019, and I was just browsing eBay. I don't even remember what I was looking for. But there was a collector that was selling their Melody doll, and she looked brand new. She had her Christmas outfit and her coat, like all of it complete, and I think it was like $100 all said and done for all of that. It was like a fantastic deal because it was all like new, and all the stuff was still available and cost way more. So I got her, and I think she's so cute, and I like her head mold now. I mean, I still think she'd look more like the illustrations with Addie's head mold, but I like Melody just as she is. I love her little bangs. I love that she has a textured hair. That was one of the things that I did really like about how they designed her. Cecile had been, obviously had Marie Grace. And I was like on board with everybody else's assessment that Cecile Rey was gorgeous. Especially after getting Marie, it really made me want Cecile. And I remember distinctly that we had talked about how our collection never felt quite complete without Cecile and Rebecca. So I ended up looking on eBay, and I found Cecile, and I didn't get her. I almost always go for a doll that comes in a lot with extras. I'm looking for a deal. and I'll usually get things in kind of worse shape for a better deal. But I didn't really feel like messing around with her wig, and she looked really nice. I have like redone her hair, but she looked pretty nice from the jump anyways. And she was from a collector, I think, so, and I think she was $120 all said and done. One of the more expensive ones that was by herself without extras. But she's so pretty, and I was so excited to finally have her. Her eyes are super beautiful, and I really like the Sonali head mold on her. Then we have McKenna Brooks, Girl of the Year 2012. She was the first Girl of the Year that I ever saw in the American Girl store. Honestly, like, she was kind of underwhelming, but I don't know why, but over time I kind of started to like her.
I remember the person that I bought my 80s Molly from actually had a comparison photo of the white body next to McKenna's regular body, and I noticed how pretty McKenna's hair parting and the color was at the time.
I had kind of decided I liked her, and I remember I had a couple watch listed on eBay that I wasn't serious about buying, but I was just kind of like, oh, that's a pretty good deal.
Like daydreaming?
Yeah, daydreaming, as you do. I was at the local flea market in the fall that year, and we called her the McKenna lady. So I had seen her earlier in the season, and she had like Sage and BeForever Samantha, and they were $35 each. They weren't in the right clothes. She must have found them at thrift stores. I had wanted Sage, but not for that price in an outfit that I already had without shoes. So when it was the end of the flea market season, she changed the price on all of her dolls to $20 each. And she had McKenna. That was the first time I had seen McKenna at her booth. She was wearing puppy pajamas. And I was like, I don't have that outfit. It's a Girl of the Year. I'm buying her. And I remember the lady saying she was always glad to see her babies go to a good home. And we've actually purchased other dolls from her, which you'll see later in this video. But I love McKenna. She's really cute. And I'm always looking for little hair accessories for her. She wasn't in the best shape when I got her, but we love her anyways. So in 2019, we had discussed the dolls that we were missing in our collection that we really wanted, and Rebecca was one of them, but also Claire came up. Claire is number 25. She is a truly me. I didn't know her number, but Claire was a very popular doll on the internet around like 2011, 2012 when I used to watch videos on YouTube, which I don't anymore, but back then I used to watch like some stuff about dolls.
Now you're too busy making your own doll videos.
Yeah, and I had long loved the doll with the medium length black hair and brown eyes, and I had kind of casually mentioned her to Colleen one day when we were in my room having a conversation, and then she found her on Mercari for like, oh gosh, it was like $65 or $70.
Yeah, it was about the same price we paid for Tenny.
She was in her brand new box. She was a return, so she is actually a doll that was at the benefit sale. And
she has the X on her bum.
Yes, those dolls sell for I think $35, so that's why she was so like cheap comparatively. And you can see why she was returned. Her eyebrows were printed on totally wonky. Like this one is way over there, and I felt so bad for her. And Colleen kind of like badgered me into getting her. Not that I needed much persuasion, but I was trying to be like, oh, I already got 2 dolls this year. And then she's like, but this one's, she's so cool. She's from the benefit sale. And listen, man, I felt bad for her because it's not her fault that she's wonky. So I ended up buying her. And the reason her name is Claire is because someone that I remember seeing their video, I don't think I had a lot of American Girl videos, it was just one of the first ones I found. Their doll's name was Claire. That's how I always thought of her because I didn't know her number. So I just, even calling her number 25, it just feels weird because she's Claire to me.
And she's also our only doll with perma panties.
Yes, she has perma panties. and we don't shun her for that. And then we have Miss Rebecca Rubin, who we've mentioned.
So it all started in 2014 when they rebranded for BeForever. I'd always I remember hearing about Rebecca when she first came out, because like Shelley, there was a part of me that was still very much in tune, even though we weren't collecting back in 2009. I was always kind of interested in her because when I was about 10 or 11, I had gotten American Girl magazines, and there was a paper doll named Liana Katz, and she was a Jewish character. When I heard that Rebecca was a Jewish character like Liana Katz, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. They made an 18-inch doll. And actually my favorite outfit that the Liana paper doll had was this pink dress from a similar time frame to Rebecca's that was like one of her, like something based on what one of her ancestors would have worn. I thought Rebecca was extremely cool even back in the beginning. In 2014, that purple outfit they made her for BeForever, I just thought she was va-va-voom. And I started mentioning to Shelley when that sweepstakes they had in 2015 was out, hey, you know, maybe if we win that sweepstakes, we could get Rebecca Rubin. After the Valerie incident of February 2000, I was afraid to go for another doll that wasn't Molly, thinking I'd be disappointed. So I waited over 4 years to get Rebecca. I didn't end up getting Rebecca until Christmas 2019. It's kind of funny because in some ways I regret it that I didn't buy her much sooner when like certain outfits were available that aren't anymore, that she was outshone by Courtney Moore a year later because I ended up waiting so long to get Rebecca. I'd gotten Rebecca earlier, I could have kind of steadily gotten her clothes while some of them were still available. But in the long run, I don't regret it because she's everything I thought she would be. And I kind of learned a lesson from waiting for Rebecca, which will tie into Courtney's story very soon.
She was 20% off.
Oh yeah.
And they had lowered the prices to $98 before
Yeah.
then.
So she was actually, up to a point, she was actually our cheapest doll that we bought brand new until we got better deals later on. I think she's stunning. And Shelley had actually contemplated getting me Rebecca for Christmas in lieu of BeForever Molly, but Shelley was afraid that BeForever Molly would be harder to find later.
Yeah.
Last year, Shelley actually got me a bunch of nice clothes for Rebecca.
Yes, it's a Christmas surprise.
Yeah.
But we have Laney Holland, Girl of the Year 2010. Lane. If you watch Seinfeld, you might understand that everyone's Elaine.
Elaine.
I call her Elaine probably more than I call her Laney. So, Laney was a gift. It was summer 2020. We were all like at home on, lockdown. And we didn't have anything that was supposed to come in the mail. And I see the mail truck backing into the driveway. And I'm like, what? I don't have anything coming in the mail. So when the mail truck pulls out, we both go to the door and we see this box.
And we're all like cautious, like, what is it?
Yeah, and then I see this handwriting on the package and I open it up and there's a note inside and she was a gift. She was found at a Goodwill. She had her meat outfit, underwear but no shoes. There was also a little BeForever mini kit in, like the mini doll kit.
And Shelley's reaction was so cute because before we had Laney, it was kind of similar to the Lindsey effect. I'd found Laney's book at the Salvation Army, and she's one of the only girls in the whole, American Girl universe who's from Massachusetts like us. And I was like, oh, it's cool she's in Massachusetts, but, she's blonde, she's in gardening, it's kind of lame. I called her Laney instead of Laney. It was like this running joke, but then Shelley, being a Girl of the Year hoarder, opens up the box and she screams, Laney! And it was like instant love. And Shelley's obsessed with Laney. She talks about her all the time. Like almost as much as Jess.
Whenever we get new outfits, this will look good on Laney. I want to do this on Laney.
Laney that.
She cleaned up really nice. She was pretty messed up when I got her, but she cleaned up wonderfully, and she's actually one of the earlier releases of Laney. I know she was only available for a year, but these are the original hazel eyes. They changed them out later to be the same as Rebecca's, so they're a bit more of like a bright green.
It's like if you see an earlier Rebecca doll from the same time as Laney, she'd have these eyes.
And then we have Courtney Moore. So Courtney came out in the fall of that year. And I remember I saw pictures of her and I was like, she looks just like Mary Ellen.
And a lot of people said that.
And I had been kind of excited to hear about an 80s character because I love 80s Barbies. And I was like, I don't like her. And I showed Colleen the picture.
And I was swept up. I said, oh my God, she looks kind of like Stacey Miguel from the Babysitter's Club.
Then you started pressuring me.
And then, I started pressuring her
very
by
quickly
Courtney.
Turned around and said, well, if you like her so much, you get Courtney.
I don't know, it didn't take me long because I just quickly became obsessed. I spent one day listening to very boring professional development at home on on Zoom. I was listening to professional development and I had the American Girl catalog off to the side on my lap. And I'm like, oh, I want this, and I could have Shelly pierce her ears, and it just came into fruition. And after I was done my training for the day, Shelly goes, when I said, Shelly, listen, I need Courtney, and Shelly's like, you can get her for Christmas. It took root in my mind, and I'm glad I didn't wait long for her, but I have to say, even though I'm more obsessed with her than I am in Rebecca, if it hadn't been for Rebecca, I wouldn't have been liberated enough to buy Courtney, if that makes sense. I wouldn't have,
I told you that I could have talked myself into getting Joss that year.
In 5 minutes or less.
Yeah, in like a half an hour, I would have needed her or I was going to die.
Right, Shelly just likes to buy dolls. I wouldn't have felt liberated enough to buy her. So Rebecca is kind of in a way a bigger part of my journey, but my love for Courtney is kind of like how Shelly feels about Jess or Corinne, where it's I just became instantly hooked. I talk about Courtney all the time. Shelly was right the other day when she said that, if it weren't for the fact that Molly was, literally, a childhood fixture in my life, Courtney could even threaten Molly's existence because it's Courtney this and Courtney that.
We got her clothes first because they were part of the sale that they ran in November of that year, but the doll herself wasn't on sale. We got her in December when we realized that they weren't going to run any kind of sale on the 18-inch
Some years
dolls.
they're very generous with the 18-inch dolls, and some years they're
I think
stingy.
we had rewards points that we had gotten from a previous order that we put towards her, but it wasn't much.
We didn't save that much on her. I basically
And I
paid
crimped
full
her
price
hair,
for
if you're wondering. Gabriella McBride, Girl of the Year 2017. She is actually a Truly Me doll. Not mine, but this doll was originally made as a Truly Me, I think number 46. And for whatever reason, American Girl just dressed her in a new outfit, retired the Truly Me, and said, yep, Girl of the Year, which was very controversial. But even so, I always liked that Truly Me doll that looked like Gabriella. But one of the reasons why I didn't buy Gabriella sooner, when we had the money, was because I was like, it's kind of cheap that she's not really a special doll. And I was on the fence about it, and I would have gotten Gabriella when she came out if we had had the money. Because
she's a dancer, and Shelly loves the dancers.
Her meat outfit's one of my it's probably my favorite Girl of the Year meat outfit, actually. But I found my doll for the first time. It was fall of 2020. I found a collector who had her and all of her clothes and a few of her accessory sets for a really good deal on eBay. It was such a good deal, but I was like, I really don't want to be buying more dolls. She's just basically a Truly Me. I talked myself out of it.
And I was like, I thought we were never going to, make a point of going out of our way to get Gabriella at that point, because I'm like, if Shelly didn't buy that particular doll, that, she had this cool story. She had this, waterfall braid in her hair.
She had gone to the American Girl store, Washington, D.C., had her hair styled, and I think her ears pierced.
Yeah, she had, this really cool backstory. She had all this stuff. She was a good deal. She was the perfect doll. So I'm like, if Shelly didn't buy that Gabriella, Shelly's not going to get Gabriella anytime soon unless she just turns up at flea market.
And it was in February in 2021, so a few months later. I don't know why, it randomly popped in my head. I came out of my closet with some clothes and I locked eyes with my McKenna doll, who was just chilling on the bunk bed, and I thought, Gabriella. And looking at McKenna reminded me of Gabriella. So I decided to hunt down on eBay and see if I could find that listing, and she hadn't sold.
And when Shelly first told me she was wondering about that Gabby, I was like, oh, poor Shelly, that doll is long gone.
But the listing had been slightly modified. I think she was a little bit cheaper. Now, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but she came with every single outfit that she was in her collection, her separately sold tap shoes, her makeup case,
her accessory set.
She had her ears pierced, which cost money to have them professionally done, and she had her hair styled, and she had extra earrings too that they got with the ear piercing. And I think I did the math, it was like getting her for more than 20% off from American Girl with all her stuff.
Yeah, it was a really good deal.
So she ended up getting shipped kind of late because the seller couldn't leave their driveway because of an ice storm, and then their husband forgot to drop her off at the post office. So she went from one collector's home to another, and I really love her, and it means a lot to me that I was able to get her, that life got better, we were in a position where we could afford to buy her, and it's never lost on me when I can buy something kind of frivolous like this. No matter how many dolls we have, they always mean something to me. April 2021, we were at the local flea market, and there was...
I think it was only the second week, too.
Yeah, there was this couple. They used to set up there. They were, like, older. They retired a couple years ago. It's all very sad. But we were pretty good, like, friends with them. I remember they even looked at my YouTube channel before. So they would always bring in dolls, and they think of us as the Barbie girls, but they knew we bought American Girls, too. And they had 3 Wellie Wishers at their booth that Sunday. They had 2 Willas and a Camille, and they were in their meat clothes. And one Willa was missing her shoes, but the other one had her boots. And they were $20 each, which these retail for like $60. And they're super cute. I had always thought the Wellies were cute. When they came out,
too.
I said these dolls are so cute. They're like the cutest add-on dolls that they've done besides Bitty Baby.
And they're very similar to Hopscotch Hill in the sense there's like they're similar size range, similar age range, dress up, fantasy, totally cute. And I mean, I like them all so much it was hard to pick a favorite because they were all just absolutely darling.
But my reason that I didn't buy them at that exact second we were at the booth was because I knew it'd be trouble. I thought if you give a mouse a cookie or if you give Shelly a doll, I knew I'd want to buy their clothes because they have really cute outfits.
So we'd no longer just be shopping for the 18-inch clothes and the Bitty Baby clothes, we'd be going after their clothes as well.
But we walked the rest of the flea market, we went back, we bought them. The seller made sure we got the Willow with the shoes. As soon as we got home, we ordered clothes for them. Let's not talk about it. And Camille had like some kind of blue scribbly stuff on the side of her face, but Willow was in really good condition.
And while Camille was like just naked on our table waiting for stain removal, I just started picking her up and kind of like playing with her, and she reminded me of my childhood Twist and Style Tiffany doll. So I ended up replacing my childhood Twist and Style Tiffany too.
But Nanea Mitchell, the historical character, Nanea, she was such a Shelley doll when she came out. I really like dolls that are either really old-fashioned or non-Caucasian. I really like dolls like that. The only reason why I hadn't gone for Nanea sooner was because I felt kind of odd about her head mold. She's kind of weird looking. Now I think she's really beautiful, but originally I didn't know what to think.
They also added some like painted details on her, which was very like new and cutting edge at the time, and I wasn't sure if I liked it.
Yeah, I remember we'd spent a lot of time, but I was always thinking, do I want her? Do I need her? That same fall, I had been looking at that eBay listing for Gabriella. When Colleen was talking about wanting Courtney, I was thinking about getting a Nanea for Christmas for myself that year from American Girl. But I talked myself out of it because I was supposed to be on a doll shopping hiatus and focus on buying clothes. However, that didn't last long. I ended up getting her in June of 2021. I had her watch listed. She was in a lot with her meat outfit, her luau and hula outfits, and they still had their original boxes, including the doll. And the doll just looked like she had just sat around, like her hair clearly had never been brushed, but she wasn't dirty. And I watch listed her, but there was a lot of action on her listing, and so I was like, I don't really think it's gonna happen, and I kind of forgot about her. So I was at work extra late that afternoon in June, and it was Colleen's last day before the school let out for vacation, and I came home from doing stuff in the hayfields at work, and I go to check eBay. And I see on my watch list that she's got 2 minutes to end. 2 minutes. And the bid hadn't changed since that morning. And so I'm like, in my head, I really quickly do the math on what I think it'll be worth and still be like saving money. I just typed it in. There was like 10 seconds to go and I won her. Like, and I think she was, what was she? Like 140, I think, or 150 all said and done with all that stuff. I don't remember off the top of my head.
And I remember the day Shelly won the bid on Nanea, she texted me while I was at work and said, I hope you don't mind. And meanwhile, it's the last day of school, and, you know, the kids get out on a half day, but I always end up at, like, you know, basically working an after-school program until my usual time. And it ends up being one of these free-for-alls where the kids are there too long, and it's just crazy. And I forget what precisely happened that day, but it was just one of those bad days if you're in childcare. And I was just like, Shelly, this is honestly the best news in the world right now.
Then we have Emerald. She is my second Felicity doll. It was September of 2021. Colleen, back then, when she worked at the high school,
We would go on like job sites, like a work study.
Yeah, like a work study. And so she had seen some American Girl stuff when she was there, because, you know, they would have time to walk around and like
And I
buy
bought
things.
a ton of clothing scraps.
And she'd seen the Felicity doll and then a Kirsten. And when she got home with all of the clothes, she mentioned to me, and there was a Felicity doll there. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, I had seen, Felicity's one of the more common characters that I've seen in the wild. Like, I've seen her way more than Josephina and Addie. And I had always kind of talked myself out of getting Felicity, but because of my childhood one, bless her little heart, but she was pretty beat up. And so I had long wanted a Felicity doll, and like a newer Felicity, like a Mattel one. And I had seen many at the flea market, and I had talked myself out of all of them. And so when Colleen told me of this magical Felicity doll, who was apparently in really bad condition, I was like, let's go see her. So we went to this thrift store, and it's kind of expensive. It's like, sometimes the stuff is a good deal, but she was $35, which her condition was deplorable. Yes, she had her meat dress on, but she did not have shoes. She did not have socks. She did not have her shift. She had nail polish that was badly done on her fingernails and toes. She had some kind of makeup smeared on her face, and her hair was absolutely disgusting. This eyelash was retracted. Gone. Couldn't find it. So I'm looking at her, and I feel this immense pain for this tragic state of this Felicity doll. And we must have spent like 20 minutes in that toy section with me holding her, because I didn't want anyone else to snatch her up. I needed to think about it. And finally, I said, you know what? I've really been wanting a Felicity doll. Like, since I got back into collecting, this one needs me. I see her potential. I'm not sure what I'll be able to do about the eye, but, like, you know what? I'm gonna get her. And I know it's not the best financial decision, but I'm gonna get her. Because sometimes it's not so much about the deal, it's about who needs you. So I bought her. And I'm really glad I did. Because when I brought her home to wash, I was simply holding her, and her leg just fell off. It's because she had, this was before they started using knots to secure the cord inside them. She had the, like, brass clamps that they used to use on the Pleasant Company dolls. Those can have defects where they actually snap in half and fall off. I've had it happen to another one of my dolls too, you'll see in a few minutes. And so if someone else had bought her, she would have immediately lost limbs, and it was like a leg and I think one of her arms. They both plonked right off. Anyways, I managed to get her all cleaned up and restrung. Her cord was fine. I just had to add a washer and clamp it down. I named her Emerald because she's a gem, a little hidden gem. So I couldn't find her eyelashes in her eyes, and I thought that, like, maybe I could make some eyelashes, but it wouldn't match her other eye, and I wouldn't want to take apart, like, the lashes from her other eye.
And I emailed the doll doctor. It's like, it says, like, at the doll doctor at AmericanGirl.com, to find out if, like, that was one of the things, like, the silver eye that they would fix for free, but they said it wasn't.
American Girl Wiki claimed it did at the time. People were spreading that around. Maybe at some point they did, but not when we talked about it. And I thought about buying eyes off eBay, but I don't do eye swaps. It can be done, and I mean, I'm sure some people have it down, but basically you have to soak the head in hot water and then use like a spoon or something and push them forward. And what happens a lot of the time is the socket itself gets damaged. So if you can get the new eye in without damaging the new eye, it still won't open and close right because the socket itself is damaged. It's like, you know what? I haven't sent a doll to the doll hospital in like over 5 years. Colleen brought this up to me. That was the same year they came out with those 25th anniversary dolls. So at some point, Felicity's eyes, they had changed with the BeForever doll to be like
about the same color as my Rebecca.
Yeah, they were different green. They weren't like this bright classic shade. But she said to me, well, if they have those eyes in production for the new dolls, they might have them at the hospital. She came back, and it was a really bad day when she showed up. I remember we had an eye doctor appointment, and we were going to go to Savers after the eye doctor appointment, but my Jeep kept flashing its check gauges. Like, it's a really bad day, and then I get home, and I see the little box, and she was gone like 2 weeks. Like, so quick. Like, she's my prettiest Felicity doll.
She's kind of like Isabella, our oldest Josephina doll. Like, even if she's not in the best shape, there's just something beautiful about her.
These were the last two dolls that we ended our previous video with. So, the dolls from here on out are new additions. So we have
these next two,
Corinne Tan and Gwen Tan. She's the girl of the year, 2022, and she is the little sister. I forget why, but I got this survey one day when I was in the email. I saw this survey from American Girl, and it said that they'd give you points, like a lot of points, like I think 100 for filling out this survey. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was basically like a marketing thing, and they were trying to like get a feel on like their marketing of Girl of the Year, I think, because they showed this 30-second ad that featured Corinne, and there was like two little girls playing in their bedroom in front of a bunk bed, I think, with Corinne and Gwen. And it wasn't the best picture quality, but I could see what I could see of Corinne. That was it. I was done. I needed her in my life. Like,
it was like me and the grainy stock.
I got so excited, and I anticipated her release. I was trying to find better pictures of her online. I knew I needed this doll. And I told Colleen when I picked her up at work that day about this doll.
And they were asking Shelly all the wrong questions on the survey. They were saying, does this instill values in girls or something like that? And it's like, no, it just makes me want to spend a crap ton of money on dolls, which is what you really want.
They ended up doing a pre-order, which, by the way, they didn't even show the whole doll. They just showed her back and like the back of her hair as a pre-order at the like right after Christmas. And this was right after I had gotten my COVID vaccine, and I had a really bad reaction to it. I was really sick, like probably the most sick I've ever been. What happened is Colleen mentioned it to me, and this was the first time I perked up. I was like a wilted flower.
Signs of life.
And all of a sudden I listened, oh wait, she's out, can I see pictures? It's just like, oh, they don't have like better pictures. So then the next morning when I mostly felt better, the first thing I did after I did my chores in the morning was, I'm on American Girl. I see her. I see that she's a pre-order for AG Rewards members. I was like, I'm getting her.
And she didn't even like have full body and face on.
We had a $5 gift card. We basically had the money to buy her because like a few weeks prior, Colleen and I had gotten a phone call from someone who ended up with one of my dad's old vehicles. My dad used to basically... His intention was to restore, but he ended up just, our yard looked like a junkyard. He would like buy all these old like classic type cars and a bunch of parts for them, and he had a Porsche of some kind that was mouse infested, and he had a new windshield for it though. Someone had bought it, and then somehow it ended up in Maryland, and the guy needed like special paperwork from us, from like the estate that had like a seal on it so that he could resell it because they were going to restore it. And we were just like, oh yeah, it's $20 for this paperwork. He sent us a check for $100, so that basically covered most of the cost of Corinne. And I kind of think of it like my dad bought me Corinne, because it was because of that I ended up with Corinne. And I thought it was really cool that they gave her a little sister. And when Colleen found out that she was the little sister, Colleen had to have her.
I was like, oh, I want your doll's sister, even though I'm the older sister and Shelly's the younger sister.
The roles were always more reversed.
Yeah, she's more mature than me. She always has been. So I'm like, oh, I need Corinne's sister so we can be sisters. I'd known since before Christmas, that school year, that the student I'd been working with for 5 years was aging out of my building. And I knew my life was going to change. I didn't honestly think I was going to have to move buildings in the district. I thought they would find a way to keep me around, but the way they were trying to keep me around, I turned down because it would have been giving up my current job for a job I didn't actually want. So I ended up getting moved to the elementary school, and it all kind of happened in a whirlwind because I was waiting to see when things were going to time out. One day we're having a goodbye party for my student, the next day we're having a goodbye party for me, and then the day after that I'm at the elementary school. My friends, knowing that I was going to leave, got me an $100 gift card for American Girl, which was like really nice of them. They threw me this big party. It was such a nice send-off. And I used that to buy Gwen.
Made you wait for a sale. So she had to wait for another offer, line it up with your gift card, and then we had, I think, some rewards points from buying Corinne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting, I basically paid for Gwen and her accessories and Courtney's fanny pack with the gift card. And from here on out, the dolls were not in our other videos.
So, in 2022, we have Kira Bailey, Girl of the Year 2021. Now, when Kira came out, I really loved her clothes. She has probably, of all of the Girl of the Year dolls' clothes, like as a collective, she has my favorite wardrobe.
I remember saying she was a watered-down Leah Clark.
Yeah, the doll herself was very plain. You know, she's blonde, she's got green eyes. They didn't really go out of their way to make her too interesting. But I always liked her clothes. Now, that year in 2022, she was still available because after Gabriella, like Gabriella and onward, the Girl of the Years were available usually for about 2 years. And that spring, they had a bunch of Girl of the Year stuff, including Corinne and Gwen stuff, in the sale section. And when I was in there looking at their stuff in the sale section and like buying things, I saw Kira's stuff. And there had been like thoughts of, oh, I really like the Adopt Don't Shop outfit, maybe I'll get that. I was thinking about all of Kira's clothes I wanted. Well, then in June, they ran another sale that was kind of just like that. Only I noticed that the dolls were on sale. Joss and Kira were on sale for $92, I think. So it was $23 off or something like that. I was like, Kira's on sale? And
this happened while I was in the shower, by the way.
I had never seen a Girl of the Year doll on like a sale before. I didn't pay that much attention before. Maybe they were, but like, I got really excited. By the time she came out of the shower,
LOL is nice.
I announced to Colleen, I want Kira Bailey. And I told you, I can talk myself into wanting anything. I waited 2 weeks to make sure I still felt this way. And then we got a $5 off, like just promotional thing from American Girl. And I was like, okay, everything is like 20% off or more. Some of her outfits were more than 20% off. We have this $5 voucher. It'll be easy to hit free shipping. So I'm just going to get Kira and her outfits because I really loved her clothes. It's like why I wanted her. And I loved her meat outfit. And she was supposed to come the day I got my windshield replaced on my Jeep because it said she was out for delivery. And we literally, like, once we got home from that, waited.
We languished for like a whole day waiting for her.
FedEx let me down. And then she ended up showing up the next day.
And the July 1st.
Yeah. Colleen likes her even more than I do because she kind of looks like Rebecca.
She does. I'm obsessed in her. She has the prettiest face.
I think she's cool that she's the last like traditional style Girl of the Year. She has no bells and whistles. After I got Kira, of course this made me want more Girl of the Years. I was thinking of like the other Girl of the Years that were retired, and I was
as usual
about Sage. Now I never mentioned it on my channel, but I promise you, Sage was always on my want list. I just always talked myself out of it.
She was like Jess and Julie.
Yeah, but I would talk myself out of it because, you know, they are bigger dolls, and I was trying to be reasonable-ish about how many I had, which that didn't last.
We gave up.
She came out like in 2013 when I was not really fully back into American Girl, certainly not buying new things, and by the time I was buying them from American Girl, she was retired, and I looked at her on eBay, and she was really expensive, and by the time the prices dropped down, I was talking myself out of getting her, or we didn't have the money, but I did like shop for her before, and I had seen her at the flea market on a few different occasions. The McKenna lady had her, someone else had one with cut hair, but she was expensive and had cut hair. But then after getting Kira, I set out to find her on eBay, and I found her in a lot. The doll, her accessory set, she had her hat and helmet, her sparkle dress, and her parade outfit, all of that. It was a bid, and I won it for $120 all said and done. It was kind of, there were some issues with the seller because they were a new seller, but I ended up getting her. She was kind of like my birthday gift to myself.
And it took like forever to come because, again, there were issues with the seller.
I think she's really great. Her wig is not in the best shape because mine was played with by someone, but that's also part of why she was cheap. But last I checked, this was a unique color eye that was just for Sage, and I really like dolls with freckles. I have Kanani Akina, Girl of the Year 2011. Now, shockingly, I did not go out of my way to buy her.
Even though we thought about it many times. I remember one time we were like watch listing some, and then we were broke again for some reason, and I said, oh, it's Kanani. It's not happening.
So with Kanani, she came out in 2011. That was the year we started collecting dolls again. I certainly wasn't going to be buying American Girl brand new at that point, but I knew about her and I thought she was really pretty. She's, at the time, was one of the most unique looking Girl of the Year dolls, and I loved her. I mean, everybody thought she was beautiful, and ergo, she was insane money for a very, very long time. Then the prices started going down, and I remember watch listing a few, was having serious conversations about buying some, and I always had this gut feeling that I was going to get a Kanani doll in the wild, that the universe would bring me a Kanani doll. So summer 2022, not long before I got Sage, there was a seller at the flea market who was getting rid of a friend's daughter's American Girl stuff. I guess they had just given her all this American Girl stuff, said sell it for whatever you want. And this person had boys for kids, so she didn't know anything about them. She didn't care. She just wanted it gone. So all of her stuff was like $1 a piece, this and that. And she had Kanani's meat dress, and Kanani's pajamas, and Kanani's swimsuit. And I recognized some of these pieces, and I bought them. And I also got Chris's meat dress. And I said to Colleen, I feel like this is going to manifest. a Kanani.
And also manifested Krista.
And we looked at Kanani's on eBay, but I kept saying, no, I'm going to get Kanani in the wild. So September 11th that year, we were at the flea market. And we were walking down the hill, right near where we got Nellie, like a few feet away from there. I saw underneath a table on top of a container, there was a pair of tan legs sticking out, and I knew, that's Kanani. I didn't see any facial detail, but I knew it was Kanani. I went down, sure enough, I picked her up, I recognized the face. Her hair was all wadded up here. She had pink smeared all over her lips. She had this nick in her nose. She had pink smeared all over her legs.
Oh, and her torso was in terrible
Her torso was super faded, super thin looking, in blue crayon scribbles. And I didn't know if her hair was cut. And at the time, I didn't know that they ran out of heads for her at the doll hospital, so I was really taking gambles. She was naked. Her neck strings had been cut off. She was $10. And I was like, I want this doll. And I'm buying her. This is my Kanani I've been waiting for. So I got her home, and she doesn't have much lip paint left because the stains were that bad on her lips that I had to do very aggressive stain removal, and the paint kind of came faded with it. It's still there, but it's kind of faded, which usually doesn't happen, but it was that aggressive, and she still has some faint stains in the back of her legs. Now, I ended up getting her a new torso in 2024 because hers was so thin that when I did her hair and her body got a little wet just from sitting her, it tore, and it tore like right where the plastic cup is glued in place for her leg socket, so I couldn't like sew a patch there. So I got her like a $12 body with stuffing off eBay, an American Girl branded one. It's actually tagged 2011. How perfect is that? And it was a really close skin match. And her wig, I don't know how I got so lucky. She has an amazing wig. That was the thing I thought would be the hardest to fix about her, and it actually ended up turning out the best. I did have to like make it all straight and then add the wave back in. That's why it's not super curly, because she has a mane. And I didn't think that curls to here were necessary, but I love her. She is awesome, and I'm so glad I listened to my gut because she needed me and I needed her. The next three lovely ladies are all related to one another. We have Krista, Peridot, who's another Felicity doll, and Jolene, who is another Julie doll. This was in November of 2022.
My friend Courtney came in with this bag that had American Girl dolls in it, and it was from my friend Julie, funnily enough, who I worked with at the high school. This was actually like, by then I was no longer at the high school, but my friend Courtney and I both worked at the same after-school program. So Courtney came in with the stuff that Julie had told her to give to me. She doesn't actually have a daughter, so I'm not 100% sure who in her family they belonged to. She'd sent them in with my friend Courtney, and there was Krissa, who I recognized, even though I told Shelly I probably wouldn't recognize Krissa. Peridot, who I knew right away was another Felicity, and there was an arm. And then I said, what's with the arm? And Courtney and I texted with my friend Julie. She said, oh, that goes to a Julie doll, but the Julie doll is missing.
You came to the Jeep, and it was dark because of the time of year, and you said, you're going to poop yourself when you see what's in this bag. And I could see a doll with short brown hair, and I was like, is that Krissa? But I thought I was being greedy. I thought she was more likely to be the Truly Me number 57. I didn't remember her number, but I knew the Truly Me with short hair, which is ironic, as you'll find out later. So I was stopped at the gas station, and I looked in the bag when we were at the gas station, and I freaked out. I was like, Krissa! Her dress, her shoes, her bracelet, all of that, her underwear, was all in the bag. And it's funny because I had gotten her meat dress from the same person as Kanani's meat dress, like, not long before, so I'd already made earrings and a hair accessory for it. So I was so excited because I'd always liked Krissa. I had just always said I wouldn't go out of my way to buy her, but I knew if she had come out when I was a kid, I would have loved her, and I always hoped to find her, so that was really exciting. And then it was kind of ironic that I bought the Felicity in the bad condition because I ended up getting her for free.
And she's like perfect.
Yeah, she was like the dirtiest of them. She had like, her socks were really gross, but her hair was in pretty nice shape. We named her Peridot to keep in theme with like the gems, and we both came up with the name, and when I said, how about Peridot?
I said, that's what I was thinking!
So she's in beautiful condition. I can't tell them apart. They have very different looks about them. I didn't regret getting Emerald because she needed me, but if I had passed up on her, I would have gotten that Felicity doll of my dreams anyways. We had the arm, and there was a search party going out for this Julie doll.
And another thing that was happening was I was actually moving from the old after-school program I worked for. I was now again kind of changing jobs to just staying in the elementary school that I already worked at during the day, but staying there after school too. So I was also worried that if Julie didn't show up in time, that I might never get her anyway.
Right.
It was like the real time crunch because I was switching jobs right after Christmas.
So, at some point, about 2 weeks before Christmas, Colleen gets this text from her friend Julie that, oh, we found the Julie doll. And, you know, at that point, like before then, at first I'm like, it's fine if we don't get her. I don't really need the other Julie doll. And then it started weighing on me. This doll doesn't have an arm. Clearly, she wasn't seen as particularly valuable if she was just being given away. What if she's just thrown away? Because who really wants to send her to the doll hospital? People treat everything like it's disposable these days, even American Girl. I just started imagining this Julie doll, and I felt so bad for her. And I had the name picked out already, Jolene. And then we get the text a couple weeks before Christmas, she's been found. Well, Colleen's friend Courtney kept forgetting to bring her into her second job.
She got stuck like in Courtney's car. It was like this whole process.
So finally, it's the second to last day of Colleen's work there. There's supposed to be a snowstorm the next day too, so we didn't know
Oh yeah, I forgot
if
about
she's
that.
going to have work. She comes out of the building, it's night, but she holds a Julie doll up victoriously over her head.
I held her up.
Without her arm. So she had some like lip gloss smeared all over her face, and then there was the arm problem, and her arm was off because the metal clamp inside had failed and split apart. So it's a pretty common problem. Though we kind of consider 2022 the girl of the year of the girls, because I got so many. It was just a really American Girl heavy year, because for Christmas, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, then you might remember that every year for Christmas, our Uncle Ray, he's given us every Christmas since 2013. I mean, up until last year when we stopped having family get-togethers. He would surprise us, and I never expected he'd get us American Girls. And he always puts like a lot of thought into the ones he gets us, and he doesn't know anything about dolls, for the record. He just has a real special knack for picking out dolls. So we're sitting around doing gifts, which our family doesn't really do gifts. That's the way it's advertised, but you know, people buy the people they want to buy gifts for.
Yeah, it's like selective.
He gives us these huge packages. And I guess he thought to get American Girls because Colleen talks to him on the phone and had been telling him all about the dolls we had gotten and like the stuff we got at the flea market. And he knew we were really into them that year. So he surprised us. And wouldn't you know, he seemed like he knew which doll he wanted to give to which one of us. He handed Colleen the package with this Molly and me the package with Girl of Today number 13, who I named Ramona after Ray. And she was in the original mix and match outfit with the wrong shoes. And Molly was in like her meat outfit without shoes and socks. And Colleen couldn't believe it when she opened it that Ray had gotten her favorite and first American Girl. And he didn't know.
And then Auntie Kim's like, oh yeah, because Auntie Kim remembered me carrying Molly around, you know, literally every minute of every day.
It was just so funny that he picked out a doll in an outfit that I always wanted. And he had no clue. So that was just really, really special, and we had waited to make our gingerbread house that year, and so it worked out because they were able to be part of a photo that year. Doll gluttony is my sin. So it was in January of 2023. I was browsing on Mercari, and I wasn't like looking at Tenny Grant dolls. I was actually just like looking for something else.
I think you were looking for earrings, and she popped up because she came with earrings.
Yeah, something like that, or she was on my homepage or something. I don't know. This Tenny doll showed up, and she was a pretty good deal. She was like $75 all said and done. She had her ears pierced. Tenny dolls don't originally come with them pierced. She had an extra earring set. She had her spotlight outfit and her meat outfit. And I was like, that's a pretty good deal. I like her. I likey. And I'd always thought Tenny was cute. I saw her at Kohl's because they used to sell them at Kohl's, and I got really excited the first time I saw an American Girl at Kohl's, and it was Tenny. So I'd always liked her, and then I saw her for a good deal, and I was like, oh, Tenny's very obtainable. Her clothes are cheap. Like, I'm all about the obtainable.
I felt bad for this particular Tenny because the person who was getting rid of her, they were buying Monster High. I felt bad for this Tenny that was just getting turfed out of her home for Monster High.
So because I had viewed her, when I went on Mercari, like, I don't know, a week later or so, she showed up on my homepage, and the price had been slashed. So with the price reduction, she was $65 all said and done, with all that extra stuff, and I bought her. So these next 5 dolls all came at the same time. We have Emerson, Ashlyn, Aspen, who's another Ashlyn doll, Kendall, and Willow, who is another Willow. It was February of 2023, and this huge box shows up on my porch. I wasn't waiting for anything in the mail, and I certainly wasn't waiting for anything huge. I recognized the handwriting on it, and I knew it was a gift, and it was from the same person who had given us the Broadway Bell box. I went to bring it in, and as I was carrying it, the tape underneath must have gave out from the weight of some of the dolls, and Kendall fell out. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the Wellie Wishers Kendall doll Collings always wanted. And I got really excited, but I had to stuff her back in the box and pretend like I didn't see, because I waited until I picked Calling up from work later on in the evening so we could open it together.
And it's right before my February vacation, and Shelly texts me this awesome news. And of course now I'm like, okay, I already couldn't wait to go home, and now you're just making it harder to wait.
And we named it the Wondrous Wellie Wishers lot. There was lots of other dolls in it. I do have a transformation video on my channel. Some were in the right clothes, and Kendall has an extremely loose arm. And if it falls off, I don't think you can fix these, and if you send them to the doll hospital, they're not made to be replaced, like parts to be replaced, so they actually just send you a different doll back. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Kendall was always Colling's favorite Wellie Wisher, and mine was always Emerson, but when we got Gwen, I didn't think I'd ever get Emerson, because I thought they probably looked a lot alike, because they have the same head mold, and they both have thatched wigs that have like 2 ponytails, but actually their skin tones and stuff look way different. She looks like a little porcelain doll, I think, and her eyes look way different, and she's my favorite of the Wellies aesthetically.
I'm very partial to Kendall, but I think they're all so cute.
Ashlyn here, Aspen, she actually has, someone wrote their name on the bottom of her foot, not Aspen, but like, they wrote something on the bottom of her foot. They must have belonged to sisters or something, and I've actually kept it there so I can tell them apart. Though I do feel like I sort of know them now. They just look very similar, and we got them at the same time. And of course we have little Willow over here, who I kept her ponytail straight after I boil washed them. It was a really, really thoughtful gift that we both
so cute.
Really appreciated. And I mean, Wellies, come on.
I'm obsessed in the Wellies. I just think they're so cute and so fanciful and so fun, and they're actually gorgeous dolls.
And I like them almost as much as the 18-inch dolls. A month later, in March of 2023, the same super generous person sent another gift. It was 2 boxes this time, and they were enormous. And in one of those boxes, which we dubbed the Mountains of Monsters lot,
because there's a lot of monsters.
Yeah, there was an American girl, and I found her towards the end of one of the boxes we were in. She was wearing Mary Ellen's green dress, and she had like rainbow streaked hair and eyeliner. And it was very apparent to me that someone had wanted to make her look scene, like that style, the scene rave kind of style. And it was actually well done, except the eyeliner, but that was because it smudged. I think it was really done with makeup. It definitely wasn't Sharpie because it all washed off. But someone used hair chalk or something. I'll put a picture of what she looked like before.
And it actually looked really good.
But obviously it, like, up close you could kind of see the texture of the hair chalk or whatever. I don't know what it was. It definitely was not just like marker, which you see a lot, because that washes out really easily. It was stubborn. I had to use OxyClean to help get it off. I had to soak her hair for a while. I had to actually use some like baking soda to like gently rub some of it off. I even had to use a little bit of a magic eraser on parts of her hair.
There's still at the very like edges of her wig cap, there are still like hints of it.
It's like
in certain light.
Like not a full color. It's like a slight staining that's left over. So we named her Raven as a tribute to the fact that she looked like a little raver, and she's so cute. She's truly me number 57. And it's funny because I thought when I saw the back of Chris's head that it was this doll, because I was thinking about what would be more common. And I always liked her because they used to have advertisements of her in the hospital gown in the catalog, and it was really cool getting her because I hadn't gotten a like truly me type doll since Claire. In May that year, 2023, we were at the local flea market, and we don't usually go into the building at the flea market. It's mainly an outdoor flea market, but there's like a little building that has a restaurant and some sellers that set up. When we went in there, at some point earlier in the season, we had seen this lady who was selling off her American Girl collection, most of it. I guess her husband said she had too many dolls. So she even had like business cards, because I guess she like restored dolls and stuff. But she had a bunch of dolls, but because she was a collector, it's not like she was selling them for really cheap. And I saw a Leah doll the first time we went in there, but she was in the wrong outfit. I forget how much she was asking for that first time, but she wanted a lot of money for how they were dressed. And then I remember it was a Sunday that I got a bonus at work, because in the springtime I work on a farm, and we do a lot with lambs, and I'm in charge of a lot of stuff with the lambs when the sheep have the lambs, and I was bottle feeding a baby, I think, that year. So I had gotten a bonus at work, so I had extra cash with me that Sunday. I'd gone there early in the morning to bottle feed the lamb, and I had gotten a little card with bonus in it. And we were at the flea market, and we went inside to see if she still had Leah. And she actually had 2 Leah dolls. They're both in their meat outfits. She had the wrong underwear on. She had Ivy's underwear, which she knew, but that was fine. I was like, whatever, I don't really care. I mean, as long as she has underwear. She was asking 85. Colleen said, would you take 75? She let us have her for 75, and we got to pick out which one of her books to get with her, which was pretty cool. And the reason I wanted Leah is because I loved her when she came out. But I had already gotten Isabelle and then Grace, and I didn't want to get on the Girl of the Year train.
They just be like, every year I need the Girl of the Year.
Because at the time, they were only available for that year. But I actually had 2 of Leah's outfits that had made it to the sale section in 2017.
3.
Yeah, 3. And I loved her collection, and I thought she was super pretty. She had these really cool, like, arched eyebrows and stuff. And I'd always talked about how I wanted Leah, so when she showed up in the wild, I was excited. I had seen her one other time before, but someone had used her as a custom, and they were selling, like, this custom doll at the flea market, and it just broke my heart because Leah Clark does not need customization. She was one of the more expensive ones. Her and Lindsey were the most expensive ones we've purchased at the flea market. Kavi Sharma, Girl of the Year 2023. Now, I know that technically Sonali Matthews, who is Chrissa's friend, sold as a companion doll, is technically of Indian descent. I didn't know that or really remember it because Chrissa came out when I was on a doll hiatus, so I wasn't as familiar with
her world.
Either way, she wasn't a main character, and Kavi is like a doll I always dreamed about. I love dolls that are based on Indian culture. Specifically collect dolls of the world from Barbies that are like that. I just think their outfits are really beautiful and the dolls are really beautiful, and I'd always dreamed that they'd make a Girl of the Year or some character that was Indian, and lo and behold, they did Corinne, and then they did Covey. And it was 2 non-Caucasian,
very Shelley dolls.
Interesting dolls. And I was so excited when I heard about Covey, and I loved her name, Kavika. It's just so beautiful. Her meat outfit's really cool, but I was really perplexed as to why they used the Marie Grace head mold instead of making an Indian one. I was kind of picturing almost like Jasmine from Aladdin, a nose that was kind of more sloped and kind of hooked at the end or something. You know, something that looked a little more special. At first I was kind of well, I'll wait, I'll see, because she'll probably go on sale. Then I ended up looking at real pictures of her, not stock images. They way over Photoshop the heck out of those pictures. And I realized, you know what? I actually think she's really pretty, and I get it. I get the head mold now. And I was on Mercari, and there was this lady that was selling her entire American Girl collection. She had at least, I think we counted, at least 110 dolls. And the weird thing was that she had just purchased quite a few of those dolls, and then within 2 weeks of having them, decided she wasn't collecting American Girl anymore. And to me, it didn't seem like a sudden change of financial situation, because she had some of those things for sale for they're still for sale. So, and it's been almost 2 years, so if she was really hard up on money, it's not like she would be holding out on that stuff. So I'm Covey's 3rd owner. This person I got her from on Mercari had gotten her from another collector, and they had Covey for less than a month. That was what the description said, and they didn't want her anymore. And she came with her ears pierced, and she came with the Orange You Glad It's Summer outfit. She was in a little bundle deal, and she had her whole meat outfit and her book. And she was not the best deal. I think I saved about $19 getting her on Mercari, but I had kind of waited to see if she lowered the price a bit, and then I ended up making an offer, and that's how I ended up saving the money. And the reason why I probably could have gotten her for a better deal, I definitely could have gotten her for a better deal on American Girl, because I felt so sorry for her. This was my dream doll, and then 2 people didn't want her. And it's just so sad, because being a doll, you just wait for the day you get home, and then people are like, nah, I don't want you anymore. And I was looking at this lady's dolls, because of course, I kind of stalked her Mercari, because I just found it fascinating. Like, it was, like, better than reality TV.
I know, we were like, every morning at breakfast, I'd be like, she listed any more stuff? What's happening
Yeah,
today?
and it was just...
What's still
It's
up?
fascinating. So then she had the twins, Nikki and Isabelle. She had them for 2 weeks. She had never brushed their hair. This was all in the description. She was selling them separately. And I had liked Nikki when she came out at the beginning of the year because she's from 1999. She's a historical character. She represents 1999, I should say. She reminds me of like the Generation girls that I grew up with, from the Barbie line. And I loved the money pieces of blonde highlights in front of her head. And she uses a jaw sculpt, which is really interesting. And she has these really thick eyebrows and extra eyelashes, just like Covey has extra eyelashes. I just thought she was so cool. And her meat outfit is one of my favorites. I love it. It's awesome. It's what Raven is wearing. And I saw that she had Nikki, and I was like feeling kind of greedy. And then I felt so bad for this Nikki doll. And she had her meat outfit, her accessory set, and her dog. And Nikki and Isabel's dogs were actually sold together, but she split them up. She got them in a bundle deal on American Girl. By the time I bought Covey, Nikki had disappeared. Nikki wasn't listed anymore. I thought someone bought Nikki, but like it wasn't even a sold listing. It was just gone. Like it had been removed. Because we kept checking back after I bought Covey, I think it was about a month later after I bought Covey, that Nikki just randomly reappeared. And her description hadn't really changed. So I don't know what the story was. Maybe someone was going to buy her like on Facebook or something, or like off that website. And that's why they pulled the listing. I'm not sure. But I ended up making an offer on her. And I think I saved about kind of like the same amount, like around $20 for everything. So it was like getting her on a not so great American Girl sale. But I just felt so sorry for her, and she's really awesome, and I think it's cool that she's twins. Like, she represents 1999. They're kind of, like, you can tell they're kind of inspired by Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Because I had Nikki, Colleen decided she really had to get Isabelle. You'll hear about that more later. My bitty baby number 1, named Noni, and my truly mean number 111, named Joy Nomi. So it was December 2023. Colleen and I had already placed our Christmas order like really early that year in October because they ran like a Halloween sale, I think. And we had gotten clothes. And then they ended up running the sale on Truly Me dolls. And they were part of the sale. They were the only 18-inch dolls that qualified, and then the bitty babies always qualify. And it was like some dollar amount off. But I think we also had rewards points.
And there was like a 4 times point, like if you spent money.
Yeah, that was part of the incentive too. So I had wanted the original African American Bitty Baby by Pleasant Company since I was a kid. I'd almost gotten her instead of my childhood doll, but then I ended up picking her out, and I'd always hoped to find her in the wild, but I never found any of the African American babies in the wild. And I looked on eBay, but all of the older ones, a lot of them had silver eye, and they were kind of expensive for the condition. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just get a new one. And the reason I hadn't before is because they have eyebrows, and I don't know, I just think they're cuter without the eyebrows. And I thought that something seemed off about the head mold, but when I saw in the up-close images that her hair was textured, I'm like, maybe it's just in my head. Maybe I'm imagining that the Pleasant Company doll had more texture. She does. It's a different head mold. It's modified. This is all smoothed out. Her hairline's been lowered. I have comparison pictures on my Flickr, but we'll talk about that more later. I had the name Noni picked out for an African American bitty baby for a long time. Like, I knew that that's what I wanted to name her, Noni. And when the sale happened, Colleen had actually suggested getting number 111, I think, because way earlier in the year when we got this outfit on sale, the Relax and Refresh outfit, this was advertised on her like predecessor. So when they revamped all the Truly Me dolls, they like basically renumbered old ones and just gave them like added lashes and painted details. She's an updated version of, and I always liked that doll because she uses the Jess head mold. And when I saw the Jess-like doll in this outfit, that's why I bought it. And Colleen knew when she saw it in the order history why I picked this outfit out.
Oh, totally.
And
that lady that had Covey and Nikki had both the 111 and the one like her, too.
And I had that moment of contemplation, but she wanted too much money for them. I was like, oh, she'd get us 4 times points. And now that I have it in my head that I really want this doll, I was a little apprehensive, like, will she dull Jess's sparkle? But because she alone wouldn't qualify for free shipping, and we get 4 times points, I got Noni. It was bad. It was really bad. But this was my first brand new bitty baby I had gotten since 2001. And this was my first brand new Truly Me Girl of Today style doll I had gotten since 2002. And I got them together at the same time. I opened her first. I have a video on my channel, and I named her Joy Nomi, and I think that I had that name picked out too, I think, and I don't know, they're really cute, and I love them, and for me, this was a real odd thing to do, and I'm really glad that I did it. My World by Us, Yvette and McKenna dolls. Yvette Peters, McKenna Williams. So they've been out for a few years. They came out in 2017, but we didn't really have a lot of money for dolls at the time. So I thought it was a really cool idea that they came out with this like special line of like all dolls of color. They ended up running an end of the year sale. And it was like right before Christmas. Like, I think a few days before Christmas.
Yeah.
Because at that point, anything people bought wouldn't be making it in time for Christmas, so they called it the end of the year sale. And these World by Us dolls showed up in the sales section for $65 each. And their accessories were also on sale, and they still honored at that time that $5 off doll and accessory deal, which they don't do anymore, but they used to do that if you bought the doll and their accessories at the same time. And even though they were both discounted, they still honored that. And had I not purchased Joy Nomi and Noni, I would have thought about getting them anyways, because I had always thought that they were really interesting. I always liked them. They're Shelly dolls for sure. And I mean, McKenna has the world's cutest friggin' head mold. This is adorable. This is one of my favorite head molds.
So
she is
pretty.
even cuter than Addie Walker, all right? Colleen knew that I really liked them.
I knew they were Shelly dolls.
There was all that stuff I surprised her with for Rebecca.
And I found out a little early by accident because I found the picture of the grill she bought on eBay.
I bought an old Girl of Today grill and like picnic set.
I just love it. It's
Among
my favorite
other
thing in the
things.
world. I was like, well, I should do something nice with Shelly.
I didn't do anything nice with the expectation of getting it in return, by the way.
No, because I wasn't even supposed to find out about it until
No.
Christmas Day, but it was an accident. I made the mistake of telling Shelly they were on sale, and then I'm like, crap, why did you do that? You could have totally surprised her and she wouldn't have even known they were on sale. And we had an eye doctor appointment, so we didn't get home until late. It was the last day of school before Christmas. So after the eye doctor and after dinner and after she went to bed, I ordered them and I made her a card that I had to like throw together right away because, you know, she would look in my email and see that I ordered it.
And you put catalog cutouts of them on it.
Yes, I did. So, and I was like, well, she's going to know. And it was just like this little surprise. And Shelly saw it. She's like, ooh, did she get me both of
Yeah,
them?
I saw the card, and I saw, and you know, she kind of left it like cryptic, like, oh, check my email. At first, I saw they were like these clearanced pajamas for the like holiday pajamas they do. She had gotten those in like some Janie and Jack shoes and an outfit really cheap because they were super cheap, so she just threw them in to get free shipping, I think. I was like a little bit disappointed, like, oh, this is what she got me? Like, grateful, but like I thought because of the pictures.
Right, because I teased her with the picture.
And then I saw I was getting both dolls, and it was like Christmas 2004 all over again. But even better because they're cooler. I just think the design of them is flawless, and a lot of people did not like Yvette's hair. I think it's fantastic. I love the dolls that have realistic textures. As someone who went to cosmetology school and briefly worked at a salon many years ago, that's part of why I loved doing it, was getting to work with people's hair types. I do have a video on how I like deal with her hair. What I did in that video, I haven't touched her hair and it's been over a year since, and it still looks really nice. And she has one of my favorite hairstyles. I always used to want to do something like this on my Addie. So we have Tiana, the Disney princess doll. I got her in February of 2024. This was very shortly after she debuted. So what ended up happening is Colleen texted me one day when she was at work, because she must have looked at her email at some point and seen
During lunch.
that they released these dolls, her, Ariel, and Cinderella. And Disney dolls are how I got back into collecting. If you don't know the backstory of like how I got into dolls, again, after taking a break, I bought Margot Rana's Disney doll book, and I had to have those dolls, and it started with Disney for me. Even, like, I know people tend to think of me as brats, but it was Disney that started it for me again, and Disney were my first love. They collaborated with Disney and made Disney dolls that were playline, not those fancy collector ones, and it was Tiana, who I never expected them to do. I was so excited. When Colleen and I saw it for the first time, we knew it would have been our Aladdin if we had grown up with it.
I mean, Shelly loved frogs. It was us.
And I mean, I just loved the design of the doll. I loved the Claudie head mold they used. She was so breathtaking.
I saw this in my email and I'm like, we are in so much financial trouble.
I thought it was like, I didn't think they'd ever make her go on sale, because at the time, a lot of their brand collabs would never go on
Like
sale.
the Harry Potter stuff took years to go on sale.
Right. What ended up happening is because we had purchased these guys in such close succession, they were 4 times points. And then they weren't 4 times points, but we racked up $70 in rewards points because of that like times 4 thing. And I was like, this is when to get Tiana. Like $70 off, I can get her spare outfits and everything. That's a huge savings. So I ended up getting her in February, and they never marked her as shipped. She just like showed up during Colling's February vacation, and I was so excited. She is gorgeous, and nobody said this because I had been curious, but I assumed she had regular hair. She has Addie's textured hair, which again is my favorite wig of all time. And she has these cute little like ringlets and pin curls, and she is gorgeous. She's one of the prettiest dolls in my whole collection. I absolutely love her. Then we have Noelle. She is Truly Me number 107. She is very, very new, but I actually got her secondhand in May of 2024. We stopped into the Salvation Army, not the one we used to go to all the time that we got Monster High dolls and stuff at, and like
Bethan.
Reba and Bethan, you know, dolls you see a lot on the channel. It's a different location. The other one closed in 2020. We were there and we were looking in the toy bins, and Colleen suddenly says, "Look what I found." She pulls out Noelle. She is wearing the Merry Everything pajamas without the slippers, and she is $9. We're sitting there looking at her, and she said, "Look, Shelly, look." She pointed out the eyelashes and the eyebrows. So these eyelashes were a new feature that they added to the Truly Me dolls like the previous fall, that this redesign had not been out long. So my best guess, based on her outfit, was that she had been a Christmas gift that somebody didn't want and ended up donated. And it probably wasn't something the kid asked for. Now, that's not what the end of it either. The bottoms of her feet were coated in thick nail polish, like someone painted the bottoms of her feet with nail polish. She had pen scribbled all over here, but otherwise was untouched. So I think maybe some other relative got this doll on sale with pajamas, the Christmas pajamas. The kid changed her in the Christmas pajamas, mutilated her, tossed her aside, and then when the parents were doing like a toy clean out in the spring, we're like, oh yeah, they don't play with this, and got rid of her. It was so sad. I came up with the name Noelle because of her Christmas themed pajamas. I thought it would be an ode to her Christmas pajamas. She is so cute, and it's so sad what happened to her. Then we had little baby Asia. She is one of the newer bitty babies with the eyebrows. I got her at the local flea market in June of 2024, so not long after I got Noelle.
It was literally a week later, I think.
Yeah! We were walking by this booth, and I saw some Barbie furniture in this bin, and on the side of the container it said, "Fill a bag for $5." And I had seen a baby head in the container, a baby doll head, and I had a feeling it was Bitty Baby. I see a lot of like random baby dolls at the flea market, but I just knew in my gut it was Bitty Baby. So I pulled her out, and she was naked and dirty and smelled kind of funky, and she had something scribbled on her lips, these kids in the lipstick. And I felt really bad, and Colleen was like putting her in the bag, because like, why not?
I was gonna get the My Life As shopping cart.
Yes.
That they happen to have. So that's why we were over there, and I'm like, hey. And then the lady's like, oh, because you have 2 items, they can both fill a bag, just take them both for $5.
Yeah, and we got some Barbie furniture too, so she cost less than $5 if you break down like all the items we got in the bin.
She was like $1.
And yeah, I named her Asia, and she's just one of those sad little babies that I felt so bad for. I see bitty babies all the time. Like, I definitely don't adopt all of the ones that need it, but every once in a while I feel bad enough.
And she was practically free. So.
Yeah, no complaints there.
Speaking of free,
so we have Girl of the Year 2006 Jess, who I renamed Namari. We have Tenny Grant, who I renamed Emma. We have a brunette bitty twins doll, who I named Gemma. And we have another Wellie Wishers Willa, who we renamed Willa. Namari, Emma, Gemma, and Wella were all given to us. So these lovely ladies were all gifts. It was July, and we ended up with this box that showed up at our door, and inside was a note, and it was from the same people who gave us Laney several years before. And they said there were actually 2 boxes that were supposed to come. Next day, actually, the second box came, and that had all the American Girls in it. And as soon as we opened it up, I saw Gemma on top. Then Colleen was like, why does she look familiar? And I'm like, that's Jess. And then as soon as we pulled out Emma, I was like, it's Tenny. Poor little Wella got a little overshadowed. So
I want to say that everyone is still in Emma's light.
they were all thrifted from Goodwill, and they were all wearing like random clothes. I think she was naked, and I think she was naked too.
But we actually had an entire spare Jess outfit that we bought from the lady we got
Kanani's
clothes from.
Yeah, I got like the shirt and skirt for $1 each. She had her underwear on still, which was cool. And I had straightened my Jess doll's hair, my first one, because it was so dry, but I didn't need to do that with her. I just ran her under the hot tap, so she still has some texture. And the name Namari came from the movie Raya and the Last Dragon. I love that movie. I've only seen it once, but I love it. It's awesome. And then I just thought she looked like an Emma. And Emma is everything.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
Tenny doll.
She was our favorite doll. There were 2 big boxes of dolls, including a soft sculptured Cabbage Patch.
Brigitte over there.
And, but nobody held a candle to Emma. I mean, she's everything a Tenny Grant doll aspires to be.
She looks so different than my first Tenny doll. Her face paint's a lot more saturated. Her wig is in a lot better shape. I just love her. She's amazing. I talk about her all the time. Emma this, Emma that. And I mean, I love Namari because Jess is my unofficial favorite girl of the year. And she's just so adorable and also in really nice shape. And then little Gemma is cool because I had Sunny, who is my other brunette boy bitty twin, and now I have a brunette girl and a brunette boy.
For Shelly's birthday, so in June, right before our cat Andy died, Shelly had been looking at it, and our new baby, who was this doll, but it was an our new baby, basically the same exact doll, the original Asian bitty baby.
She was in an eBay lot with like 20 plus like brand new outfits, both new and old.
And she was beautiful, but the bid went way higher than we had the money for.
Hundreds of dollars.
I kind of resolved, if Shelly didn't get that baby, and I didn't think she would, that I would, for her birthday, get her one of the Asian bitty babies, even if I had to buy the new one. What I didn't know, and I found out on the night of August 12th, I literally waited till Shelly went to bed the night before her birthday. But if I can't find one for a decent deal on eBay, I'll just buy the new one. The problem is the eyes are the same on the newer ones, but the hairline is totally different.
Yeah, she has, I'll move her headband. See how her hair is straight and it's all kind of like made to be forward? The other ones have the same like side part. So they don't just have the eyebrows, they have different hair.
That's when we discovered that they actually did, when they added the eyebrows, subtly change the bitty baby molds.
See, Kiki looks nothing like Noni.
She has so much more texture, and like they're like, it's like they smoothed them out and brought their hairlines down. And that's how I discovered it was actually on accident. So I ordered Shelly Ming Mei that night, and she was naked. And about $30. And ironically, the same seller had a slightly nicer one who was also naked and about $30 for like $2 cheaper. But something about Ming Mei after like I don't know, I was up past midnight looking at these dolls. So it actually was technically the morning of Shelly's birthday that I made the purchase, because I just wanted to pick a good one, and I'd been up. I stared at so many bitty babies and my eyes hurt.
Cheap outfits from other people.
Yes, and I did. I found her a couple of cheap outfits. So I resolved that Ming Mei would be a great addition to our family. She was in line with Asia and Keisha, who like were also very beat up.
She had paint missing I needed to fix.
So on Shelly's actual birthday, not only did we get our cat Quasimodo from my friend whose name is Asia, but we also spent a large chunk of the day looking at bitty babies, and we realized that they had the reason Noni didn't look as cute as dolls like Kiki is because they actually did change the mold. And Shelly and I were kind of just like low-key watch listing, looking at babies. And at some point, someone made us an offer on this magnificent
I hadn't even
specimen.
watch listed her. I had clicked it because they had really good pictures of her head. And she had, she's a Pleasant Company doll. She had the original Bitty Baby sleeper, her diaper.
She's about the same age as our Jelly.
And she was $30. $35.
About what I paid for Ming Mei, just nicer.
Yeah, she was right in there. And I thought she was amazing. And I had looked for this doll before, and I could never find them that cheap and in that condition. And because
Without silver eye.
Right, and because Bitty Baby dolls show up in the wild so much, I had been holding out for all those years. So that's why I ended up getting Noni when I realized that wasn't going to happen. And they made me an offer, that's what it was. And then I did end up getting her for like 30 or something.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it when I saw how cheap I could get her. So she's before Ming Mei because she came in the mail first.
And Ming Mei had stains, and Kiki didn't need much work. She was just a little old and dusty. But they both, that's why they're here together, kind of. And they're both very special.
So the name Kiki I had picked out for this Fashionistas Barbie that I used to admire in the stores all the time. She had an orange striped dress and a big afro that I loved. And I just never ended up getting her. Thought Kiki was so cute for a baby. And then Ming Mei I had picked out like in my head for that doll on eBay that I didn't win the bid on. But like when I was thinking about in like dreamland if I won her what I would name her. So The King of Queens is our favorite sitcom. We watch it all the time.
I'm Doug and she's Carrie.
If you're familiar with that show, at the very end of the show, a part of like the story arc in the show is that they want to have kids, but the wife in the show had like a miscarriage, and so they kind of gave up on trying to have kids. And then at the end of the show, they go to adopt a baby from China, and that baby's name is Ming Mei. And I just thought the name Ming Mei was super cute.
It's such a pretty name.
Francesca. She is a Pleasant Company Josephina doll. My heart for Francesca. So it was October 2024. We were at the local flea market. It was the day I got my Star Traveler for Barbie. We were rounding like the corner to the last section of the flea market, and I saw the lady I got my McKenna from several years before. She always has like some kind of American Girl stuff, and usually her dolls are pretty cheap. But when I walked over to the pile, I saw clearly a Josephina doll in a Sleeping Beauty dress, which really didn't flatter her. I didn't need her, but I was just, inspecting, like checking out the Josephina doll. And she said to me, "Oh, this is probably my last week setting up. All the American Girls are $5. And unfortunately, we had them all. There was her, and then there was a Wellie Wishers Ashlyn, and then a same doll like Raven, and they were all $5. And I just could not help myself. She is like the most beautiful Josephina I have ever seen. She even dulls Isabella's sparkle a little bit.
In this lighting, she actually does.
She is just, and I mean, she didn't have a stitch of her original clothes. She was wearing Luciana Vega boots and this Aurora dress for some reason, and she was kind of grubby. But I was like, for $5, like, come now. How do you walk away from that? So I ended up buying her for $5.
And the lady was so happy because she knew we'd give her a good home.
Yeah, it's kind of like the lady we got Lindsey from sold us some Cabbage Patch dolls for a discount because she wanted them to go to a
Or
good home.
Nathan.
She is Francesca is everything a Josephina doll aspires to be.
She's beautiful.
So the reason why we took so long to update this video, we usually used to do on even years. So 2024 should have been the update. But Colleen wanted Isabelle since I got Nikki because they were twins. But they didn't really run a lot of sales on the 18-inch historical dolls in that time frame. So by the time they did, this was in like the Christmas season, the holiday shopping season of 2024. She was 20% off.
Yeah, and she went on sale while I was at work, and Shelly ordered her for me while I was at work, and Shelly knew that my least favorite outfit of Isabelle's is actually one she's wearing now, which I got later. She ended up ordering me Isabelle, her accessories, and her pajamas and her New Year's outfit.
Yeah, to get free shipping because it was all on sale.
Yeah,
and we had rewards points, I think.
So she figured we'd wait to get this later, which we did. I wanted Isabelle really just because, they're such an ode to Mary-Kate and Ashley and to our shared 90s/2000s childhood. They're from our own time frame. They are us, except they're twins and we're not. But I think we have twin tuition even though we're not twins. She's got that girlier vibe and Nikki's more edgy like you. But when I read the book, Isabelle's actually the more outgoing one, but also the more codependent, needy twin, and also the one who's more stubborn and less willing to change. Whereas Nikki comes off as more shy, but she's also more trendy and urban. So they're literally us. So I'm so glad I got her. I love her bright green eyes. I actually think Nikki's the prettier twin because something about the blue eyes and those light blonde money pieces just really, it's chef's kiss. But Izzy's beautiful too. I really love her, and I'm so glad I got her.
We have Girl of the Year 2025, Summer McKinney.
This is kind of like a combination of the Marie Grace, it worked out perfectly, and the totally impulsive purchase
Yes.
of Joinomi. It's like a combo of both.
So, for the past couple years, they've been actually releasing the Girl of the Year in the fall of the year before. So, like Lila, who's Girl of the Year 2024, they started selling in like September, October of 2023. So, Summer came out in like September, October 2024.
And they've been coming out earlier and earlier.
Yeah, and so when she came out, I was like, another blonde doll. That's all they could come up with. It kind of just felt like there were people sitting around at a board meeting like, what kind of doll should we do for Girl of the Year? Oh, rainbows! A blonde doll! You know, like very little creativity put in there. Puppies! I actually really liked her outfits. Because it's my kind of tacky vibe. I mean, clearly I liked making things. Right after Christmas, Summer's clothes were in the sale section as part of the end of the year sale. And I remember thinking, that's really weird. Lila's been out for over a year, and I've never seen anything of Lila's except Hollyhock the horse.
They're very stingy with Lila.
In the sale section. And I thought that was weird. And I thought, is Summer not selling well? Do they not like Summer? And I started to feel sorry for Summer. I was like, I like her clothes. And then I was like, let me look at her on eBay.
Slowly turned to love.
And I was like, you know, in real life, she's actually really cool with the Nanea head mold. And she's got this cool, like, there's pink, light pink highlights in her hair. It's really subtle, but it's really pretty. I started hoping that she would go on sale. But I didn't think it was realistic. I thought maybe she'd go on sale like at the end of the year, but Lila still hadn't been on sale. I mean, I feel like she was always excluded from every sale, her and her collection. It was the end of February, one of the last days of Colleen's February break from work, and we had a $20 rewards certificate that was going to expire in like 2 days, and there had been a sale, a 20% off sale on like other things, not including dolls, like a little bit before then, but we had both come down with the stomach bug and were violently ill and hadn't felt well for a few days, so we had forgotten about the sale with feeling sick, and then what ended up happening was by the time we were feeling better, the sale was over. And we had this $20 reward certificate that was literally just going to expire. Got home from picking up her tax paperwork. I was about to go shower, and Colleen was on her email, and they had run a flash sale on a bunch of like dolls and large play sets. Now there's this Truly Me doll, I forget her number. She's got like the cotton candy style hair that I like. I've mentioned her a few times. She's calling it, said, oh, she's on sale, and she's like $25 off, and we have rewards. And so I come into the room, shower not important anymore, and I start looking, and then I see Summer is in the sale, and I'm like, shut the front door,
Colleen. Like cotton candy hair doll.
Summer is on sale. I have saved $45 on her. Had I not needed to pay the $10 shipping, sadly only saved $35 on her. I love her, and I know she was an impulse buy, but she's actually really unique looking, and she's just really, really cute, and I just like her a lot. Like,
and the reason I say it was kind of a little bit like Marie Grace is because Shelley was talking, oh, I hope Summer goes on sale. You know, it was something she was thinking about, but it was also kind of like totally impulsive. When they first did the Disney collab a few years back, they had Jasmine, Belle, and Rapunzel, but they were like $250 or $300. But then when they came out with Tiana and Cinderella and Ariel for the cheaper price, and they had these cool extra outfits marketed alongside them, I'm like, why can't Belle be in that wave? I want Belle. Hope started to like flare up inside me when they released a second Rapunzel, but in the like budget. And we had to put budget in air quotes because these are still American Girl prices. Shelley said to me, no, I heard a rumor they might release the Belle. But we weren't obviously not going to hold off doing a collection video based on a rumor. But once Belle was out, we're like, oh, well, yeah, now we have Isabelle, but now we still can't film.
It's always you.
I know, it's my fault. So the backstory behind why I'm crazy about Belle is that as far back as I remember, my Beauty and the Beast VHS tape that I had when I was a little girl, it was the first Disney movie I had. It was so worn out that I thought it was raining in that opening scene. That's how many times I watched that, even as a little kid. I wanted to be Belle, and I honestly thought if I pretended to be Belle and thought I was Belle enough, that it would manifest and I would suddenly become Belle. She loves to read, and that buff, scary-looking dude showing up at her door totally, like, alienated her, made her go, no, I don't want that. And I totally relate to that. I mean, for me, the epitome of being Belle is, like, not falling in love with the prince, but like living in the castle with the magical objects forever. That would be my dream. I love her eyes, and she uses the Josephina mold like Rebecca. she's just divinely beautiful, and I think she really does look like the character. I feel like the Josephina mold was a really good choice for her because the nose is petite and the lips are very pouty and dewy, and the hairline is just fantastic. So she went on sale
For 20% off.
Yes, and I thought I was going to have to wait a lot longer. I had to have her, and she's so pretty. And again, Shelly actually ordered her for me while I was at work. I texted her and told her I was having a bad day, kind of hoping it might accelerate. I thought it might accelerate the eventuality because I knew Shelly wasn't going to let the sale expire before saying, yeah, we should get Belle.
I hope you enjoyed this collection video. If you're interested in seeing all of these dolls, all of their clothes, accessories, reading all of our personal stories behind them, we have albums on Flickr that feature all the American Girls and all the other dolls in our collection. We recently updated all of those photos the past year, and I went through all of the fun facts and stuff. So it's been revamped. You don't need a Flickr to view it if you're interested. And until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.